Afternoon. Welcome to September 12, 2024, meeting of the Flathead Reservation Water Management Board. Looks like we're doing good here today, so if we could get a opening prayer, George, would you?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and say a prayer first. Dear Lord Jesus, thank you for this day, for allowing us to be together as board members and staff. Help us to make wise, careful decisions on what we're working on. Thank you for this life-giving rain that we have today. Be with all of us, be in our hearts. In Jesus' name, amen.
Okay, Clemens, thank you. Hey, Shane, we just had our prayer, so you're good. As always, meeting minutes are found at the www.frwmb.gov website. If you have an interest in those, please go there and you can find them. Attendance, please.
Mr. Chairman.
Here.
Vice Chairman.
Present.
Board Member Smith.
Here.
Board Member Pitt. Here. Board Member Hendrickson. Present. Board Member McLeod.
Here.
All board members are here and accounted for, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, so if you've had a chance to look at the meeting agenda real quickly, any potential conflicts of interest from anyone? Ken?
No.
George?
No.
Roger?
No.
Georgia? Nor myself, all right. Adopt meeting minutes from 9/4/24, so it would be in your packet. Motion to approve when you're ready.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the meeting minutes from Wednesday, September 4th.
Motion by Georgia. Second by Ken. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, approved. Thank you. Any public comments for items not on the agenda? So we have this as an opportunity for anybody from the public to make a comment. Anybody in the audience here has a comment, please come to the podium, state your name, otherwise online.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, you do need to adopt the agenda for today. Item 1.6.
We didn't do that? What the heck?
I could have missed it.
Any, thank you. Any changes, questions to the agenda? If not, I'll take a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll move to adopt the agenda.
Motion by Roger.
I'll second this.
Second by George. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion adopted. There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks for keeping me on my toes. Now, public comments.
On task.
Anybody online?
Mr. Chairman, just 1 second. We have a few attendees online. We need to figure out how. If you're online and you would like to make a public comment for items not on the agenda, please raise your hand and I'll let you speak. Mr. Chairman, I see no hands raised online.
No hands, no one here, making a comment at this time. There'll be an opportunity later in the agenda.
Did you want to make a comment, sir? There's somebody behind you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, please come on up to the podium, state your name and give us your comment. Thank you.
Hello.
Sorry
My
for,
name's Ray Hitchcock. I live in Arlene. I have a lease there, a tribal lease, that I use the water out of the S Canal. And I'd like to just explain a little bit how my operation works. I've had that lease for, I think, about 24 years now. How I use this lease is, I irrigate it, fertilize it, then I get a cutting of grass hay off of this lease. And then I irrigate it and raise it up for pasture. So my cows are gone to the mountains in the Valley Stock Association. So they have something to come home to, instead of just bringing them home and have to start eating hay right away. So I'll put them over there for middle of October until either the grass is gone or the weather pushes me out. But now with the water out of the S Canal in the near future, they won't have no place to go. And I'm just kind of wondering, I know my alternatives are a well or haul water. And then I found out from some different people that it isn't for sure I can even get water to haul for my cattle, via a tank or a water truck or whatever, because of access, not having access to the river or to another canal. So I just wanted you to know my operation and how it affects me in my operation, because it'll be tough. Might be the end of my producing, because water's very important to my operation.
mind if I ask you a question?
Oh, you bet, please.
So are you in contact with the irrigation project managers?
Well, I have been in touch with some of the local ones there in RV.
Yeah.
And of course, some people, through the tribe I have stuff.
Okay.
I have a comment or two. If it's-
George?
Oh, excuse me, I'm pretty sure, and I'm sure I'm not the only producer in that position. So, because a lot of people, that's how they run their operations, hay, raised grass for the fall.
Your location on the upper S Canal is what?
McClure borders me, the highway borders me, and Orange Cars borders me.
And do you have water in it right now?
Yes,
Yes. And so they shut off the headworks for the upper S Canal several weeks ago. And the flow that you see in there now is actually spring flow that comes in.
oh, is that right?
Yeah, so that should be a fairly steady state flow.
Well, see, another thing about the S Canal is, I am not right on S Canal. There is a diversion box that it's got to be a certain level to get over that cement box, and then it goes 150 feet to a smaller ditch to my
Is it
lease.
deep now?
So I'm not right on the canal.
But is it being fed now?
Yeah, right now it is, yes, yes. Well, I just wanted to let you know how important it was for me. And like I said, I'm sure I'm the only producer.
We hope you can find some alternatives. Comments?
So I was just gonna ask, did you get a newsletter from?
Yes, I got that. Yeah, and it's gonna be put off for a year.
Yeah, so when you put off from here, then there's some links in that letter that provide you access to some potential funding sources.
Yeah.
For technical.
Yeah, and I see that. I just kind of wondered, me not owning the land, being a tribal member, leasing it from the tribe. I just don't know how much I want to put into that, because as you know, the bidding process for that deal is, you put a well and stock tank or whatever in there, the price of that lease is going to go probably out of my pocketbook. I won't be able to afford it. So, but I'm not saying I won't. I'm just saying it's a thought. And actually, a lot of times I'll only have those cattle in there for a couple of months, a month and a half, and then I haul them home. And a lot of times I haul water anyway, because the S Canal, like I said, it would get low enough that it wouldn't come into my head gate. So I would actually haul water. But then it would be, then it's time to say, okay, let's take them home. You know, so. And I'm not, I'm not against hauling water, but if I don't have access to haul water, that would hurt. Any more questions?
If you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, just when you're talking about the access, what is the access? Could you elaborate a little bit more on what the trouble will be with accessing water to haul water?
Well, in the past, the way I have done it, when like we have a real cold snap and that freezes up or the canal would be too low for me, I would stop on E Canal just across from the cemetery. And I would fill a 400-gallon tank that I had on a trailer. Then I would pull it over to there. But with everything shut down, that's going to be out the window. I won't be able to go there. It's about the only alternative is going to be the river. And I don't know if they're going to allow access for me to go and haul water there for my 2 months of use that,
Sure.
so.
Well, Mr. Hitchcock, if you don't mind, could I get your phone number from you? So
Okay.
maybe we could talk a little more detail about where your situation is.
Sure.
After the meeting wraps up.
Maybe I can explain it a little better. I'm not used to talking.
Oh, you're good. You did well. Thank you.
Okay. Would you like it right now?
That'd be great. If you could just leave it, with, Ron over there at the table, that would be.
And I'm in the buffer. I still got a landline too.
Yeah, me too.
And you'll
Thanks,
think-
Mitch Hitchcock. Any other public comments?
Yeah.
Come on up and give us your name, sir, and tell us your story.
Well, I don't know if I got much of a story, Cleve.
I think for the record, we need your name.
Jerry Hamel,
Hi, Jerry.
5527 by the phone number. I just kind of go by what's going on the street, And, I heard that, on the compact, they allocated $4 million for spring development. And is that true? When are they gonna start doing it?
Well, even if there is, this isn't the board that manages those funds.
Water.
Yeah, well, these are water rights. This has to do with water permits and water usage throughout the reservation.
Well, I guess I'll
We,
go right along with Ray. I'm tired of Bonneville Power hiding behind the tribe. And everybody says the tribe rather than Bonneville Power. Bonneville Power is behind this. But 5 years ago, they offered me $28 or $35 an acre not to irrigate, And I don't think there was very many people that did that. But Bonneville Power is behind the whole thing. It's not the tribe. Right?
so, in terms of getting some of the details of your questions answered, maybe Ethan and staff can meet with you, and if they're not permit type questions, maybe we can get you in contact with the right people, maybe at the tribal offices or wherever, because I'm vaguely familiar with the idea that there's money available that's going to be put into development throughout the project. But where they're at with that, I don't have personal knowledge of that, and we can certainly get you in touch with the people who are. This is not the board that manages those funds.
Just water, just irrigation.
More than area, this is all water rights.
I go along with what Ray said, on the stock water, Bonneville's behind that, right?
If that's a question, sir, to the best of my knowledge, no. But again, if you're looking for
Who's behind,
funds,
who's behind turning off the water for stock water?
well, under the compact, correct me if I'm wrong, folks, through the compact, the irrigation project will no longer deliver post-irrigation after season stock water. This year, they're going to allow it. Starting next year, it will stop, but that's part of the compact.
Part of the compact.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I was always in favor of the compact because I thought it did the tribe, whatever the tribe wanted, you know? When they turn around, you know, and there's a lot of stuff in that compact that is against the tribe. And Bonneville is hiding behind that.
Jerry, you're right in the fact that there is $4 million available grants for spring and wells. And if you get with Ethan, he can fill you in on that status of that money and how to apply for it.
Okay. Well, I think the compact needed an interpreter, you know, and every document that the tribe ever made, 1855 on, needed an interpreter to tell people what's going on. And I've got a document here, negotiation of the railroad that was right by me, you know, and the interpreter was Michael Rive, because he couldn't hardly speak English, you know, so how could he interpret? You know, and that's all. That's every time that the tribe has made a deal with somebody, they've needed an interpreter, you know. And now it's getting to be the lawyers, you know,
Yes,
and it's all the way you interpret things. I think the tribe has taken it in shorts. And on another thing, the government, as the president said, the government takes care of the people. They don't tell the people how to live.
One-
But the government is telling the people how to live right now.
so just for clarification, this body here is not a tribal operation.
The government,
This body here is also not a state operation. It's independent of both and funded by both. That's not federal. So the specific questions you have about potential tribal issues really do need to be addressed with the tribal staff or the tribal council.
what does this have to do with the compact?
The compact set this board up to manage water rights throughout the reservation.
Am I wrong or am I right that there's supposed to be a committee set up with tribal council and irrigators? Maybe 3 from the council, 3 from the irrigators to run the project and get the BIA out of it?
I think there is a technical committee that is set up to operate all the funding that's coming in to improve the irrigation project. But in terms of operating the irrigation project itself, Shane, maybe you have a specific insight into that. Nothing has changed, has it?
Operations are as normal and managed by the project manager. At the same basis, Eric Rudier is the project manager. And he manages the Vitamin irrigation project, and the way they've done it for years, but within the guidance of the compact.
That's BIA.
BIA. We're trying to get the BIA out of the irrigation, right?
I don't know who we use. This board is not. This board is here to operate and manage water rights throughout the reservation. Tribal, non-tribal irrigation project water rights, all the water rights.
I don't have any water rights because I don't trust the government.
Okay, all right. But when it comes to water rights, if you have specific questions, Ethan would be the good guy to come and talk to, sit down and just visit.
Yeah, I'm probably too old for that anyway.
Well, I don't know, Jerry. You look pretty spry to me. Take care, Jerry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Anybody online?
Mr. Chairman, there is I think we already offered online, no hands got raised. I'll check again. If anybody online would like to comment, please raise your hand. I'd like to speak. I see nothing, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Okay. Moving on. Item number 3. Water engineer.
Mr. Chairman, board members, in front of you today is a small piece of water policy and procedure for your consideration. The state of this particular draft is that the board has reviewed the language. It is pertaining to stock water allowances, which we know have some interplay in between some of the stock delivery issues that were brought up by the public a moment ago as an option for alternative water sources. In addition to the language that the board has reviewed, staff in cooperation with some of the members of the compact implementation technical team have made a few modifications for your considerations today. What I'd like to do, Mr. Chairman, board members, is go over the modifications that we have on here proposed for you, and then if this board feels like this draft is ready, you could put this out for a 15-day public comment period. So that's kind of the stage at things right now. You have a draft, modify this draft as much as you feel you need to today. We would like to get it out there. Now, we had a little more pressing need. We thought we were uncertain about the timeline for cessation of post-irrigation season deliveries by the irrigation project. That said, though, I do believe a lot of projects are in the works anyway, because there was uncertainty about that timeline, and certainly the compact implementation technical team who presented to you about their ensuing grant program and so forth at the last board meeting, would potentially benefit with this clarification on water policies. Let me figure out how to share my screen here, Mr. Chairman, and no. Apologize, I don't drive to do it as often as yeah, so click no function when I do it. Where is the share button? There, oh, there we go. The green, the lit up green.
The flashing green sign.
Okay. Share screen. All right, so. There we go. All right, thank you for your patience, board members. Here, check. Okay. Yep. Take the team, get me to run the Zoom project here.
You're doing better than I do.
Thank you for that. All right, so this first part is just the notice language that we would typically have up for something going out, and then the body of the water policies and procedures is here. Now, I'm going to remind you just one more time, all of the language that is in black is language that you had reviewed, and this board had a general consensus on for moving that forward. The track change language would be things that I have stuck in here based on other interactions that would be for your consideration. The first part is included in your handout. We will have a couple of additions at the end that came to us after the posting, so not in your handout. We'll have to work through that live. So item one is some clarification that using existing wells for unregistered and new uses, what had really happened here is that this language was modified to match the changes that we made to the domestic allowance section. So this should be easy because you've already approved this. It just really mirrors the language from the domestic allowance section. Again, what it's really essentially doing is allowing people to use some existing wells. There is a clarification that is in here that's not in the other section that says, here, that are not connected to a home or business. And you might remember, we talked about this a little bit, there is a very specific, section of the ordinance that says that stock allowances, wells for stock allowances cannot be connected to a home or business. We also talked through a solution to that. And so if we have a scenario where somebody has an existing well that's hooked up to a home or a business, they could apply for a 60 DF, the domestic allowance option, for a new water right that would be purposed only for stock. So they would still have that same option to attach a stock use. It just would not be this specific stock water allowance. And yes, sir.
If you can restate that again,
Okay. Well, so
please.
I'm gonna do one little piece of overview that may or may not help, but there is a specific line in the ordinance that we wanted to make sure we did not overwrite that authority. It is under the stock water allowance section. It super specifically says that wells used for stock water allowances cannot be attached, physically connected to a building, home or business. Okay, so we're stuck with that, right? And, you know, if we were gonna design this maybe from scratch, it might look a little different and be less complicated. But, what we have done instead is we are gonna just honor that for the stock allowance section, right? And so anything applied for under that stock allowance will need to be a standalone well that's only used for the stock water, not attached to a home or business, right? That said, we also got a lot of feedback from everybody that they would like to be able to put additional stock water on wells that are already attached to a home or business. So we did find a way to do that. You actually took action on that with approving the domestic allowance section. And I know it's like kind of a paper shuffle really, but it is an important paper shuffle, that type of water right will be under a domestic allowance, which would have then domestic allowance purposed only for stock. Okay, and that's why you have this language here to make sure that we are going to uphold the laws, the tribal and the state laws on these stock water allowances. However, practically speaking, you know, there are going to be options for wells, whether they are or not attached to a home or a business, so long as it is under this stock only purpose of use. Is that
So,
better?
well, if something is attached to a home or a business and is going to be allowed to be used to use stock water, what happens to the home or business element of that?
Mr. Chairman, board members, the home or business element really just remains static, the way that it was before. Any kind of an attached use would be, and this actually pertains to the WP&P that were already passed. But any type of additional stock only purposes really would be additional to those homes or businesses. So long as the well kept under the maximum 35 gallon per minute restriction. That is one thing that has to be maintained, which we don't think would be a problem, because it's not like somebody's gonna put a different pump in, right? It's not like two pumps in the same well. It's gonna be the same pump with the same maximum level. They just be adding a stock tank out one end and a new water right that's purposed only for stock. Still has to be dispensed in a stock tank and have that standard stock tank control, flow valve kind of arrangement set up on it.
The flow rate, is there a volume to that too?
The volume will be for it either a domestic allowance purposed only for stock, or a stock water allowance. Each one of those is limited to 2.4 acre feet, annual. Total diverted amount.
So I guess what's, for some reason, hanging me up is we're saying we're gonna follow the ordinance that says a stock water well has to be separate, it can't be attached. But in this case, we're allowing it to be attached.
Well, in this case, the restriction is limited to these, stock water allowance type water rights. We have another type of a water right called domestic allowance that has stock purposes also. So it's confusing. And not as plain English as we would probably design from scratch, but, because it is, pretty clear ordinance language about this particular type of water right, we wanted to kind of parse things out in this fashion so that the domestic allowance water rights would be used if there's any kind of a home or business attached. Absent a home or business attachment, then that well could be used for this stock water allowance. Furthermore, just to make it more interesting, if you have a domestic allowance, that actually does need to be attached to a home or business. So the attachment or lack thereof to a home or a business substantively puts something either over on the domestic allowance section or over, absent that connection, over on the stock allowance section. And do keep in mind that the stock allowance section has 3 different types of uses. There's a surface water use that can be over on the stock allowance section. There is the only kind of pit that's permitted under an allowance would be a stock pit over in the stock allowances, and then of course the stock water well portion. So
All right.
I hope that helps, and we do recognize this is a little confusing. We will help people when they come in to apply. We will train all our staff to know and look for whether things are or are not connected to an existing home or business, and try to get things managed and arranged appropriately so that we're within the letter of the ordinance. We're also offering some flexibility to folks who need stock water.
So that'll be made pristine and clear in the flow chart.
The flow chart is coming up directly, Mr. Chairman. As soon as we pass the stock water allowance, we will work on the flow chart. Putting a note down here.
I'm being a little bit facetious, so thank you.
Oh, no, we do need a
I
flow
was
chart.
I
am not being.
was looking
joking
for
at all.
a reaction from Haley. I thought Haley would kick me under the table or something.
Flexibility.
Yeah, I mean, I make some immaculate.
We
flow
are not
charts.
gonna let her make this flow chart though, because that decision-making flow chart was, makes my head spin. a little
Thank
bit.
you. I may have been the only one confused, but anybody else have questions, comments? Yes, I was the only one confused.
It helped me to explain it. I understand it better now too, so I appreciate your question.
So on the red language there, so again, maybe just me, but the last sentence. Existing wells that were approved by the office may also be used as points of diversion for new uses. What's the purpose of that sentence?
It was brought up to us that in our description of existing wells, when we had started things off, we defined them as things that were drilled before the effective date. You allowed for a small window that went from the effective date to June 1st of 2022, if you'll recall, because we were building infrastructure, staffing, preparing a process. We couldn't have people not able to drill a well when we didn't have a process for them to come in and apply for pre-approval. So that is embodied here kind of forevermore. And then we were like, anything after that, you really need to get that pre-approval. And then it was pointed out to us, well, what about the ones that you did actually give pre-approval for? So in other words, you came in and you got a drilled on a pre-approval from this office, if you followed all of the requirements, got your pre-approval before getting your well drilled, you could actually use that well, you know, for either a new stock water allowance if it's not connected to a home business, or a new, domestic allowance if it is connected to a home business. And so, it was this extra group of wells that we had actually authorized here in this office. I hope that helps to explain why we think we needed that, and that ability to have that exception for the future.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chairman, board members, if it's okay, I'm gonna just sort of scroll at this slower rate. And if you want me to stop anywhere, I am happy to, but I am ultimately getting down to the additions on page 3. But I don't want to overstep the speed. Now this, you'll remember I told you there's 2 things that are not on your printout.
Okay.
You know, and so these are here, and one of them gets a little bit of what Mr. Hancock was talking about, which is that it's been brought to our attention that we need to make a certain clarification that would allow the use of water truck as a point of diversion, right? And so for folks who are hauling water and are seeking to do so legally, you know, they would be able to go to a designated point of diversion. This imposes that they would need to have possessory interest in that point of diversion, you know, but that they could then use water truck to draw the water, and then they could drive the water truck and they could dump that water in a tank. And that this would set that up as a clear and legal use of stock, you know, a way to appropriate stock water, excuse me, Mr. Chair.
I just, only comment is allow the use of water truck as POD. The water truck is actually the means of conveyance, not the point of diversion, right?
It's both, because it's got the suction footer and the pump on it typically. It's possible that they might be using a separate trash pump, but we can designate, I will happily rewrite this however you'd like.
Well, I'm just trying to understand if you word it this way, though, how do we assure that the actual point of diversion stays the same?
Well, what we would do is we would write it onto the water right. And, you know, there'd be a water right that has designated points of diversion. And then, the applicant would need to provide us with, either, you know, proof that they have the possessory interest or written permission from somebody who does, right? And then that would, they would have this designated spot to go, which I think should fit most options. You know, I hadn't thought through the issue of not being able to take water out of an irrigation canal, but I'll talk more about that.
You're reading my mind.
Yep. So, well, with that, if somebody's gonna do that, they will have to demonstrate that they have the written permission to do that. That is, you know, so anyway, point is, we really need to have a few sideboards on where the diversions are coming from. That would also help us with fielding calls, right? So-and-so is drawing water out of such and such, and we either know if they, you know, well, they got water. Yep, and for stocking, or, you know, a stock use, or we would not have.
Chairman, I gotta say this concept that bothers me.
Okay.
The mobile source of moving for the bird.
Well, that was the reason for my question is how do we assure that they that they have a fixed point of diversion, because I can see a water truck being a means of conveyance and point of diversion because that's where you're drawing it, but the physical, that's gotta be associated with an actual physical on the ground point of diversion. Otherwise, they could take their truck and run around, suck it out anywhere and say, well, that's my point of diversion. I don't think that's what we're allowing, correct?
We are trying to fix the, one or possibly multiple points of diversion so that, and typically somebody's gotta have a road to where they're gonna fill something up, right? And, so we think, you know, that is probably a sensible approach. You you can't just take a big giant water truck and go all over the place. But it's similar to pumps, right? People can move pumps, smaller pumps. You know, but we do allow people to use pumps in irrigation, even though that is technically a mobile, point of diversion. We do fix them anyway, as like, this is where you're really supposed to be drawing the water.
So the chairman mentioned was, how does this apply to water taken out of the irrigation problem?
And this does not right now. So that was something, the only way that this would apply to water taken out of an irrigation canal would be if whoever's canal it was, offered, written permission that this was an okay practice. So, then they would be able to potentially draw out of that conveyance, and then the water right starts getting complicated, but it wouldn't be the first one in state history that has a multitude of different conveyance structures from the creek to, I mean, like some of the water used in Valley View, comes from like the North Fork of Placid Creek, right? I mean, the water really can move around a lot, so that wouldn't be, I don't think, too circuitous, for us to manage. It would offer people the truck option.
Let me ask a dumb question. I'm just trying to visualize this. So this can specify when you write this out, where the truck can go. Let's just say it's headed down to Flathead River below Furman Bridge. That's where they're gonna pull it. Easy access, right?
Yep, okay.
Does it also limit how many times per month they can go? Like,
So the types of limits that you can put on this, we would have all the same kind of options that a regular water right.
Okay.
But we're gonna be looking at an issuance that's less than 2.4 acre feet per year,
okay.
right? And so we are gonna have the same type of restriction, maximum amount. Now that said, the chances that somebody's gonna really divert 2.4 acre feet with the truck is low. And so, we're typically gonna get an applicant who's gonna designate what period of the year they really need this, because, as we heard, trucking water is not the funnest thing to do. It's a lot of extra work, but sometimes it's needed. I will also let you know that there are lots of water rights that use trucks. Okay, so all of the firefighting, all of the county road maintenance, all of the construction, that happens, all of that is based on trucks drawing water, and typically they're supposed to have something under, it's calling the law to, justify that use. So it is not the first time somebody's like, yeah, use a truck for water right. There's a lot of different kinds of uses like that. Now this, however, would be less than, some of those uses are very liberal. They're called dispersed uses. So that, the draw really requires notice that this water is going to get drawn, and they can go disperse that water wherever their project is. The Forest Service has that, the tribe's water right has that, so on and so forth. This would, however, be more specific as to the point of diversion, where the water is drawn, and the place of use. So if somebody like, all right, I'm leasing this pasture, I get maybe a sign thing that says I can do that here, signed by the owner that you're leasing from, and you're good to go. You've got a place to use, so now you can operate.
So I'm really confused. Okay. I've heard several things here that don't necessarily jive with each other. So we're gonna have a fixed point of diversion. Did I hear you say that?
The fixed point was diversion, so
Okay, then why do we have to call the water truck point of diversion? Can't it just be conveyance?
that's fine. You can call it a conveyance, and I was trying to acquiesce to whatever you want to call it. But I did really want to put that it's okay to use water truck. That's
fine.
that's the real clarification we need to policy.
Yeah, my understanding was that this would be a means of conveyance under a specific POD.
Okay.
Because PODs involve legal land descriptions, and so
Right.
that can't change.
Okay.
Right. So we worked on, and I used to work on a number of water rights for Flathead County Road Department. And they use water for dust suppression, road construction. So when we'd apply for a water right for them, we would, the point of diversion, and it would be, you know, they would have multiple points of diversion on the Stillwater River, so they could just back up their truck and pump from it. The water truck had nothing to do with the point of diversion. It shouldn't have anything to do with the point of diversion here
It
either.
means a conveyance.
Yes, it is.
I also suggested, an information remark to be put on the water right stating that, so even if the means of conveyance on the water right says such and such stream, then the information remark on the water right would say that the means of conveyance is through water truck to said place of use. It could be done different ways, but yeah, it would be as a means of conveyance on a specific POD.
Now, while my next question is, if you think about it, probably applies to all water rights, but how do we assure that in a case like this, it's actually being used for stock water?
Well, the thing about all the water uses is it's difficult to assure that
That's
the water
what I
use is the right thing. So I don't think that this is totally unique to that
Yeah,
issue. And so, but I hear you. But this would be closer to folks being perhaps in compliance than not having an option.
so is this intended to be a temporary situation, or are there situations where it would be permanent?
Water rights have a tendency of permanence until they hit that magic 11-year mark of abandonment. But that said, if somebody, ends their arrangement, they would either need to.
So let me rephrase that.
Okay.
So I get that part. Is it intended to be seasonal? In other words, a period of use?
I think that's up to the applicant. So what we would try to provide is a year-round option. Recognize that can get dodgy anywhere. But a year-round option, and then the applicant, like with other, because stock is typically does have year-round use in some situations. But then the applicant, if they really don't need that year-round use, would designate that. Then, we probably, like what we do typically right now, we have some kind of canned periods of diversion and use for different types of purposes. Stock does tend to generally be issued for that year-round because it's stock as opposed to irrigation that has the October arrangement. And but for all of those, there's a section where the applicant designates actually what period they really need.
And priority date for these?
Now, the priority date would be the date of the application, just like any other modern new allowance applied for.
Roger.
So my concern is for people like Mr. Hitchcock. How does he demonstrate possessory interest?
And so,
So that he can back
that's
his-
why I was hoping to
Or
talk
permission.
more.
And just like George's example of he just backs down to a big apron there on Flathead River, I mean, he's not disturbing anything, but how does he get possessory interest?
So who owns the apron on the Flathead?
Tribes.
Tribes. So you can go to the tribes and see if the tribes will give them written permission to pull some water out of that spot, you know, it depends on who owns it and no different than, you know, maybe it's the county, maybe it's private, you know, maybe they own it. But yeah, we definitely, would shy us away from issuing something, that walks away from the possessory interest component, because this is a private type of property. So I'm not trying to make it harder on folks, but we have been pretty stern on possessory interest for all water types.
Has to be defined. Any other questions, comments? Are we ready for this? We're just trying to get this out to public comment, right?
That's the case, yes, sir.
Okay.
So I've got a couple, no matter.
Go ahead.
Imagine that. No, not at all. Thank you.
First thing, allow the use of water truck, do it two ways, a water truck or a water truck for an as well.
Yeah.
Then I believe applicant should be capitalized. Then
There you go. So,
it says possessory interest. I think you need in comma. And then another comma after and. Designate.
thank you for that improvement. There's one last item on this, section, and, there was some, desire to have, this clarification that, let's get that in the first item, where we were, talking about how confusing this procedure for stock, purposed uses where the well is attached to a building. And I believe I was informed this would say home or business. Use form 60DF and apply for an allowance purpose sold for stock. That will hopefully help, that clarification. I don't know, I might move that closer to the front of the stock water stuff, but for right now, I just wanted to consolidate these conditions that.
You know, that possessory interest thing still bothers me a little bit. I think back to Flathead County, and they were just going to public right of ways. That's how, so if they're on a public right of way, do that. That's how it is with the rest of the state. They could just go to a public right of way.
Does that, I mean, I understand that. And I know we're not talking about a great volume of water, but how did we, the source also needs to be considered. In other words, if it doesn't, then go to any public water array on any source and just go tap it, and they may not be in a place that is the same source even.
No, each POD has to be defined.
You're saying that the public right of way could be used as a POD and needs to be defined.
Yes.
Okay. You're not just saying it's an open access to any public right of way.
Well, I just look at, you know, there was tributaries of the Stillwater and they would be on a county road, so they could go ahead and use their county road as their point of diversion, you know.
Right, but Stillwater, so what if
That
they,
location.
but if there's another stream nearby and they decide to go to another stream in a public access?
That has to be defined.
Okay, so you're not thinking they can do that?
No, that's
Okay.
not, yeah, it's not a blanket thing.
Yeah, okay.
Is that do what you're thinking? What I just wrote? Maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna just make a suggestion. I mean, could it be because there are different types of potentially publicly owned PODs? I mean, could it be something where it says the OE may require further information on possessory interest if the POD is publicly owned or something like that? Where it gives the staff the ability to determine what requires more information on possessory interest. We aren't having to lay out every single type of publicly owned possessory interest here.
That's fine.
So they only may request additional information if the POD is located on a public right of way.
Or just,
Yeah.
I mean, just publicly, like publicly owned or in public ownership, something like that, because there's different types, doesn't have to necessarily be on the right of way, right?
Yeah, and I think that makes sense too, because even, I mean, I get what Roger is saying, but even in that case, just because it's public owned, to do something like that, you might need permission to go on there and actually do
Right.
that. Probably easy to get it because it is public, but
Yeah.
good to have that covered.
It seems to me no matter what we write, we're at the end of the day, everybody's still on a bit of an honor system, right? You have no way to police those.
That's what water rights are.
And-
Yeah.
Well, this is especially trouble those, right? Because they are living, they're driving the truck around. So
Well, that's why we have a complaint procedure
I
Yeah.
have this and
or objection procedure.
allows.
I just think because ownership can be very complicated
Oh, God.
on the reservation, I think leaving it broad
Yeah.
to give the staff the ability to determine what's required for possessory interests is probably the best approach.
And that's another good point because people tend to think of tribal land as public land and it is not.
Exactly. There's just a whole bunch of different types of ownership here, so I think we need to try and flesh out what's the best way to phrase this, so it's open for editing here, everyone.
Well, yeah, I agree that the total concept is confusing too, because she has for specific public purpose, so county road, public for travel. So, and the county owns the road, so they can pull up to the bridge and fill up off the bridge. Where Farmer John pulls up off that same spot, the county's like, hey, we're here for flow of traffic, you need to get moving.
Yeah.
You're gonna want to run that right in park on the bridge. Disrupt the flow of traffic. So this public entity still holds the right of refusal to, for that type of purpose. I think.
That's fine.
Good to add in here that
We publicly or tribally owned or it owned. Yeah, I don't know, like a public or tribal entity, something like that. So that you're covering all bases.
Not about tribal lands, or what there's no trust,
Yeah, that's.
that underneath tribal lands.
Yeah, I mean, I would consider that, yeah. Right,
Or
oh, yeah,
federal lands considered public?
Well, that's.
I would say so.
They are, and that's why I was saying that the Fish Wildlife Service, for example, you pull up to.
9 Heights?
For your oath, however, you're probably legal, you're publicly there, but that. The reason it's public is for a specific purpose, not for a commercial or private reason.
And well, in addition, most of those kind of sources are also part of the project, irrigation project.
Right,
which
yeah.
They need permission from them anyway.
Right.
I can say that all federal property interests that are property of water. It's not by the individual agencies.
I think that would be captured under the publicly owned.
Yeah.
Piece, because it is a government.
Does it give you enough to work with?
I can throw it out and see what sticks, maybe we'll listen to, if we've got any comments on this too.
Yeah, we beat this horse to death.
Yeah, let's
No
get it out there.
pun intended.
Let's get it out there.
Do we need the public right of way piece? I was trying to get rid of having to specify just that. With that line.
Well, I think we have, like, I like it like this because if you bring us proof that the public right of way allows that, we'll just say, okay.
Right, but that's what I was trying to get at with that kind of generalized statement, which is where if they came in and said that, then that's all you need, and you could tell that to the applicant.
Okay.
Probably so.
You're too many than too few.
Okay. Any other changes to anything?
Are we ready for public comment before we send it out to public comment? Yes, any public comments?
Mr. Jim, we'll need to stop sharing so I can see if, somebody online has public comments.
Any public comments? Anybody have a comment? Step up and give us your name and your comment. Or online.
If you're online, you have a public comment, raise your hand and I'll, allow you to speak. No comments online? Anybody in the room? Anyone else see public comments?
Okay, on to board action. Initiate 15-day public comment for WP&P stock allowances. I'll take a motion to approve that.
Okay, I'll make a motion to move the stock water allowance to 15-day public comment as revised.
Motion by Roger. Second by Ken. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, approved for public comment. Thank you. All right. Water right application forms. If needed,
Yeah.
What is that?
It is needed, Mr. Chairman.
okay, so
Placeholders, sometimes they don't get removed along with the
Okay, scratching if needed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And, yeah, you probably had my name, on there, Mr. Chairman, board members.
Go for it.
Before you, you have a draft update to an existing form. The form number is 607F. Looks like this here. Now,
Is there 3 pages?
yes, sir, it is three pages.
Okay.
And the addition that is offered here is all under item 4.
Is 607F an existing form?
607F is an existing form.
Okay.
Yes.
And
And this has an additional square under item 4 that you would check that says extend project completion deadline for an appropriation permit or change in use authorization. Mr. Chairman, board members, it has come to our attention that there are a number of permits that are on the, that have been issued by the Montana DNRC prior to the effective date on the Flathead Indian Reservation. And not all of those water use permits have been perfected. Now, just as a recap for everybody, when you go in and you apply for a permit or a new appropriation right, you do everything in advance. You explain what you're going to do. You haven't built anything. Sometimes you do have to put the well in for the well testing, and there's some other things that might, be a partial build, but really you need to go through the entire process, through the objection phase, through everything, have the thing issued before you actually build it. And so between the issuance date and the, what's called the project completion phase of a new permit or a change in use authorization, a permit is not perfected. It is in this limbo zone. Many of these are for subdivisions that got a permit and they have, let's say, 20 houses. And, they are incrementally adding those as it happens. So they're not gonna really finish their permit until they got 20 houses. They might be at 18. They might be at less. The convention for the Montana DNRC is to accept permit extensions, project completion extensions, so that I thought I was gonna get it done in 10 years, right? I'm sure nobody else has had a situation I have where I thought I was gonna get something done in a certain amount of time and get that. It does happen, and what we don't wanna do is go back to the drawing board for something really complicated like a permit or change authorization. And we have some people who are nervous right now because they've got, they're up against their project completion deadlines. They don't have a way for the Montana DNRC to extend their project completion. They would like us to do that. If, I believe, Mr. Chairman, board members, and if you were to approve this form, which must be unanimous if you're going to do it because it's form, just as a reminder, all forms need to be unanimous approval. We would add this, we would allow these folks that have these pending project completion deadlines, opportunity to extend it.
Roger.
So Ethan started to make a pretty good example with the subdivision application. So just carrying that or elaborating that on a little bit more. Say you have a 20 lot subdivision. Your subdivision was built out to 16 lots. There's still 4 lots undeveloped. So if they had to file their project completion, they could only file it on those 16 lots. And those other 4 lots then would have to go through the whole permitting process again of testing the well, submitting a new application, going through public notice, going through objections just to get the same thing done.
If it's not extended.
If it's not extended, yeah. So and it has happened. But it's a lot of burden just for not, is what it amounts to. So that's this is a good idea.
What's but we're extending on something that the state started and doesn't become part of our record until,
Well, so it's an unexpected, transition that wasn't, spec'd out necessarily, but, we would ultimately, as the main administrators of water rights on the reservation, this is us. We would need to finalize their permit. The issuance has already occurred. I would, write a finalization of the project completion, but we would not, really reissue that permit or that change with the new banner. We would just acknowledge the completion of a permit that was issued by the Buckhead DRC, that had not been completed. And we could, impose on it the regular types of completion requirements, whatever the type of proof assurance that they haven't, expanded the project, that type of thing, which, all reasonable and, typical what would occur, if the state was doing this on this.
well, yeah, let me finish my thought if I can form it. So it's state-based water right, and it's gonna get into our system and become part of what we manage. Until that happens, if we're authorizing an extension to something that's not ours, how does that work?
It is already in the system, when
Whose system?
the main state.
The state, correct,
State
but not ours.
But, so it's in the system as much as any other state-based active water right that's on the reservation. It's got that same, it's got that same level of, it's ours, but it's still recorded in the state system.
When does it become recorded in our system?
And I think our system will be the state system, but you got jurisdiction over it, at the effective date. So it became in your pile of water rights on the effective date.
Is this something that just kind of didn't get considered when the compact was being written?
I'm gonna say yes, but it's hard to fully predict what all was or wasn't considered by everybody.
I mean, you can't foresee everything.
Right,
that's
I
for
did
sure.
not consider it, but, I do know that it's an issue now, and it's not an imaginary issue, we're talking about an actual, situation that we've got in our laps that we just need to help these folks with, the assurance that they'll.
Ken?
I have two questions.
Yes, sir.
Why would a person in this situation go to DNR?
The NRC doesn't have any authority to bring water rights on the reservation.
They've already pushed it.
Right, they can't.
But not the completion. Right.
Okay. Second question, is why $400?
That is that mimics the state. The state has a project completion extension timeline that is $400, and we do our best to mirror the state application fees. Therefore, that's what we've got.
Well, if you look at number 4, you have $65, 150, 65, 65, 4. So do they all mimic the state fees?
Where there is something that is a state equivalent, they do. If there was not a state equivalent, like the 65 and the 115, those were things that you passed.
So is 400, regardless of whether we're mimicking the state, is that a reasonable amount? For the work?
Well, I mean, I think you're talking about a permit or a change authorization, which just ordinarily has a much higher fee with it because of the amount of information that's processed through those applications, yeah.
And ultimately, I'll tell you after we do one.
So Jen, just for comparison, right now the state's fee, I think, is something like $2,000 for the application part of it. This is just an extension to see what's been done and and let them have another 5 years to perfect, to build out those other 4 lots.
One of those rationales.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's even been increased for permits and changes, and then there's actually a reduced fee if you meet with technical staff to go through your application. Yeah, that was just done in the last legislative session. So.
And this is from the January 1st update, that $400. So I think it used to be 200. And the state just updated all of their fees, which you'll remember, on February. We had you, go through and redo a bunch of before the Allowances effect in February, so that we could track the state, because it's spec'd out in the compact, and we're supposed to, track the state's application.
So the water rights in the DNRC database that are in that category, once the compact was effective, became ours.
Yeah, I mean, there's the exceptions to it with the actual registrations that need to be transferred from the DNRC to this board. That is still an ongoing discussion. And well past the 180 days that was, yeah.
And there is just also to be clear though, like out of all of the water rights that are here, the state, the Montana Water Board does still retain jurisdiction for the adjudication of pre-1973 statements of claim. So there is still a little bit of interplay between the state administration of things specific to the water board.
So is it assumed that these all fall under the category of permits and not claims?
This is not a claim, this is post 1973 permit, and that's why it has this project completion arrangement as opposed to it going through adjudication.
Maybe, again, I'm hung up. It's in the DNRC database right now,
Yeah.
not ours.
Well, no, our database and the DNRC database are the same database. Coded differently,
Right.
sorry for this.
But-
Have a DNRC code.
We're working on that. I can't,
Once we perfected it, could.
It would have the FIR
Okay,
designation, yeah.
So it will become ours.
Yeah, so if you were to
Once
go,
perfected.
if you were to go on the Prairie system right now, their database, there's actually designations on there currently that say FIR on it. So water rights that are within this reservation are listed just differently within the database, but it is the same database.
So how do we administratively process this if we do an extension? And how does it show up in the record?
well, at present, that is a good question. And the wireless project is trying to resolve that. I wish I had a better answer for you. I have the prospective answer, which is that we will have our staff get that full access and be able to go in and manage this, this water right and perfect it. As of right now, they really just need a piece of paper that's authorized, authorized for the extension. So step one is they get something in their hand that we will keep in our records, and that dog has it right over there associated with this permit that says your project completion date is extended, to this date, right? It'll accept the $400. Rhonda will put it in her accounting system. It'll go over to the operations account and get input. We'll retain this record with it'll be the only file that we have right now for permit extensions, but it'll be the first one. And then when the database gets done, that's the time where we will go in and we will have the actual ability to modify that record. You know. using the-
But if we're getting close on the deadline on some of these, if that database is not ready before those deadlines pass, what happens within the DNRC system?
It just.
We're sure.
Date comes and goes, there's no automatic revocation. In fact,
Okay,
you know,
But in terms of actually like evaluating this and going through like project completion, the recommendation, at least for me, would be to do it based on the language in the ordinance.
meaning,
Yeah, but you just touched on something entirely different, didn't you? An
Well, they were just
extension,
asking-
an extension versus a completion, so,
Right, but this is where they're going, is that final
Yeah.
product,
that's kind of
right?
completion.
So they're
Yeah,
asking for the
Sure,
extension to
that's-
do the completion,
right.
so.
yeah,
But instead, what I mean by that is even though the DNRC approved the permit, right? That was based on their statutes, their rules, their regulations. The last part that will now be in front of the OE needs to be processed based on the ordinance, not by the DNRC statutes.
Right.
That's what I was saying. It's just a touch base on.
and that whole business, this transition that we're in terms of all that. I'm thinking about the water user, developer and all of that they're clear about how all this works because, you know, we're trying to implement it and we're, you know, make it clear. But how do we make all of that clear for them and secure for them so that they're secure in their water right and in this process?
they talked to like 4 or 5 different water right offices. And that's, I think, what you're getting at, but,
so could we just, when they apply for an extension and if we approve an extension, could we just have a letter reminding them of the rest of the process that they need to follow once their project is completed? That a lot of people don't understand that you need to file a project completion notice. You know, they just forget about it. I thought I was done. I thought I had water right.
right,
So,
that's the issue.
yeah, so,
It does say a big line
You
at the
know.
top that this is.
Yeah,
just kind of following on what Clayton was saying, that maybe we could just include a little letter that you need to come back to this office once your project is done. But wanted to go speak to what you said earlier with regard to virus and entering this into the database. It's a no different situation than we're in right now with the stock water and the domestic development allowances. So it's just one more item.
okay. Okay,
Instead of a letter, can we just add a?
comment section,
That's fine too.
Okay,
a comment section, I wondered that too, yeah. Just explaining a lot.
yeah, this would be 5 and then 5 or 6.
I'm sorry, do what?
Put it on a platform. So that they understand. Once this period, like, within this extension period, they have to
Okay.
do the project completion portion. And then reference the ordinance, citations to do that.
Yeah, just underneath that.
Yeah, it is, I actually think that the project completion portion in the ordinance is actually somewhat decently clear compared to other portions.
With any other comments, questions, suggestions?
Just a general. For some time now, we now have a watermark and what do we call these?
Logos.
Logo. Is that our form?
Yeah, so this does have a watermark, but we needed to mark it draft. for purposes of knowing, for us to keep track of it, this is not the real form, right? It gets surprisingly complicated. So that's why that's not on there. None of our forms have the logo, the FRWMB logo, they just have the water right. We really need, we're trying to keep this kind of consistent format with and we do stamp them received that has the FRWMB, part of the receipt, the date by stamp, so that happens right in here, and, yeah,
Did you have the law?
did you have the watermark? Yeah. And so that way, and when we, the applicant will send this in, that there'll be one that has the wet signatures, on it. And then when we do kick out, an approval, that that letter has the Office of the Water Engineer letterhead and also has our, watermark, and then in the body of that, we send an approval letter to the application. We print two of them, that's where we're doing right now. Do need to probably have a little more detailed, discussion about how we're gonna do all of our paper records, but because the watermark will only print on the original, we print one of those that stays in the file and is signed, and then we mail one out to the applicant. If there's multiple applicants, we mail multiple original prints that have the watermark on. Anything after that gets a photocopy, won't have the watermark, and gets stamped copy. So that we retain that original language with the original watermark and the original authorization signature, in the file. That was a lot, sorry. Maybe more, but it's good. That's what we've got going on, so that, we think that's especially important right now. Because we don't have the digital backup to the water system, and, retaining that information, those hard copies, I think that's perfect.
Are we ready for public comment on this?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, public comment before we take action to
Yeah.
approve this form.
If there's anybody online that would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand.
And our public's gone.
Seeing no public comments online,
Public's gone.
Public came and left. Nobody?
nobody.
Okay, so given that, board approval of Form 607F,
I'll make a motion to approve the revised Form 607F with the addition of Haley and Ethan working on a footnote to the project completion reminder.
motion by Roger,
Second.
second by George. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, approved.
Thank you, Chair, board members. I do think our rearrangement of the agenda is helping the public, by the way, so that things that they might be interested in are up front in the agenda. It seems to me like I've noticed that.
Either that or we are extremely boring.
It's possible.
Could be both.
I might have to say that good government should be boring.
Item number 5, please.
This year, Office of the Engineer, building, requests for proposals. The update, we've got 2 kind of verbal requests. We have 2, formal submissions. There seems to be kind of one consistent question that is, is this a RFQ or is this an RFP? And that folks want to know, are they supposed to give us their qualifications and their ability, or are they supposed to give us a cost estimate for how much, their services would cost? And generally, I get the idea that there's not enough information in our two-pager for them to feel super comfortable, other than going into like some hourly rate, possibly. So this question right here is really just to try to see, I want you to have what you're after, and I want to do my best to consistently provide information.
Yeah. Let me try to summarize a little bit, because I think the initial, and I can see they might see a difference between RFQ and RFP, but their RFP that went out was simply to request their interest and qualifications, that they would follow up and meet with us and you as a first step, so that they can begin to develop the actual quote / proposal, so that we then have a dollar amount that we can go back and get funding for, because we don't have the funding for this.
Yep.
So once we have then selected the firm and an amount, we can take that information, go to the state and tribe and say, in order to develop a plan, this is what it's going to cost. And if you're interested, then we need to have you give us the money to do that. So it's a little bit awkward because we don't have the funding, but we needed to start. At that time, then we can remind, and I've had the conversation with the tribal and state folks, that they need to be working on with us on a site selection. Ultimately, we can't go out and just pick a site. They're going to have to agree on a site so we can pursue that. Once we have the money, we get the planning done. And then if they have a site, then we can do a final plan based on the site. Then whatever that plan produces, then we take that and go to the state and to the tribe. We're probably, ideally, we'd be far enough along, we can provide this to the state and the tribe during the legislative session, and we can ask for money for the actual building. So it's a lot of steps in there, but right now, I think initially all we're trying to do is get their interest and qualifications and then start meeting with us so that we can explain the rest and they can give us some numbers so that we can go get the money.
It's very helpful, Mr. Chairman. My follow-up on this is, when we go from, I know we've got 3 or 4 for sure they're going to get it to. So we set this up now like we would an interview process for a prospective employee, or you would the whole board to meet with all of the teams. Do you want a sub group of the board to interview
That's a good question. So what would the board like? I know what I am thinking, but let's hear. You guys want a working group to work on do the initial meetings with the prospective clients, or do you want the whole board to? Let's start there.
I think you already have a building, has a ton of.
I'm surprised they didn't fire us. We got this place. Just throwing that out there. You should have a change of heart.
That's sincere. Maybe we probably.
Okay. my vote was for the whole board, but that's fine. Um,
Why would you? Not disagree, I disagree.
Cause I think it's a board decision. I think it'd be efficient to have the board meet with each of them individually. Get them each all the same story and get the same answers, and then we can make it, once we've been through them, then we can make a decision. But that's fine. I have no truck one way or the other.
You could do the same thing with the committee.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So, who's the board, the committee? You?
Georgia and I.
Okay.
It was. I should-
So I've expressed my thoughts a couple times on the process. If anybody else has any other thoughts, though, that's what I'm thinking about what the process would be, is that you meet with them. They would also meet with the staff. And I think initially it's what I will call a preliminary plan that doesn't have a site, because they're gonna say, well, where are you building? Well, we don't have a site yet. But we could they could meet with us, meet with you initially to talk about what our space needs are, right? That's where we're at. What are our space needs? And what are the space needs coming from the staff so that they have a good sense of what the space needs are. And begin that. And what's it gonna cost to produce that? And ultimately, what will it cost to produce a final plan once we have a site? Because they'll want to produce to the site. So getting that cost or those costs is what we need so that we can then go get the money. I mean, they're gonna ask about budget and all that, and right now we don't have a budget. We need to know how much it's gonna cost to do all that. Then we can go get the money.
To hear you speak, kind of thinking that maybe, right, maybe it should be full board, because since there's a lot of expertise on this board in these kind of matters, which I don't know. I mean, you just said 3 or 4 things about having.
I'm gonna just offer that, I think if you were to do this with a smaller group and, let, staff slightly outnumber the board in the smaller group and, do ranking sheets, then we could have these interviews in a more efficient manner than in a public venue. Which I think that's not super awesome to put, a perspective vendor through, in my opinion. So, I would, encourage you to at least consider the option where you, let staff outnumber the board. We'll do some ranking sheets that will be formalized and standardized for each one of them with your input. You can give the input to the ranking sheet at a public venue if you like, that's fine. But, then we will go through and do that one that you can, actually deliberate, on your own, after that, arrangement. And I'm just thinking out loud right now, but I think that would be a more efficient and, perhaps familiar, arrangement for these interviews.
Yeah, if Ken and Georgia are comfortable with that, I'm certainly comfortable.
Well, it seems to me that whoever is interested in potentially building a building really needs to meet with staff first. You guys are in the office every day. You know what your office needs are. I don't have a clue. They need to talk to you. What do you need for offices? What do you need for storage? What do you need for parking? Kind of thing. But then there's these 30,000 feet questions that people like you guys can answer. How do you go about site selection? You know, how?
Well, we're not individually, that's gonna be largely based on what the tribe and the state agreed to. Roger.
So I think we need to step back. I've seen one package of applicants. You said you had 4 of them now.
I have 2 interested and I have 2, submissions.
So you have 2 that have come in. So I saw the one get circulated, I think. I can't remember who all was on that team, but it was a very good team, I thought. Of, you know, they had architects, engineers, they had the full boat. You know, so I think yeah, maybe if we only get two, I mean, we just sit down and pick one, but I think then, you know, I think Ken and Georgia and a couple staff members could go through that selection criteria, or even just you two could go through that, you know, pick out who we're gonna use. And then the next step, I would think, would be to get them on board and we look at our budget and see if we have some money in our budget to do some preliminary stuff. And then let them develop something, so then we can expand on that to go to the tribe, you know, and the state.
So, just I'm starting to get a little confused, that back to, I guess, maybe what Ethan's original question is, we have 2 to 4 potential interested parties. Are we asking for them to bid on something and we're gonna take the lowest bid?
No, we're looking at their qualifications. To me, this is more of
You
a,
know, but
looking at-
we ask for an actual, you know, list, did we put out a list of things that we want them to design for us?
Well, we haven't yet. That's why they're gonna meet with us.
Yeah, and so I guess that's back to my original question, that, rather than whittle it down to one and then go after the design, we put out all the kind of criteria that we're looking for. And who can best do that in kind of a request for proposal format, that we are looking for these standardized things, you know, bathrooms and office spaces and in generic, you know, in a cultural component to these things. Who of the 4 can best do that we're gonna flesh out everything out, the details after that, but it seems weird to pick one and then go forward rather than vet the whole 4 or 2 or 4, however you end up with.
Yeah,
Am I making sense?
no, I think that's a good approach, but it also makes me think maybe even if we have a committee start with them, maybe we need to just make some decisions now up front about what we need in terms of space. You know, put that list together now so that the team has it as you're meeting with them.
We do have, we did offer a bulleted, like, very general list of
yeah.
things that we, I mean, for what it's worth, you know, like certain sideboards on what this building's gonna have to have. Number of offices.
Maybe we need to visit that.
Okay, like, would you?
Is it something you can pull up?
Yeah.
So it's approaching 3:30. While you're pulling up, you guys want to take a break? Let's do that. Let's take a break. Let's pull it up and just chat about that and just see where that leaves us. I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you have something right now?
Well, it seems like what we submitted out there was a request for qualifications. And so now that's what we're getting is the qualifications. If we wanted people to give us cost numbers, we would have submitted a request for proposals that would have had a very detailed scope of items to go over and bid on. We didn't do that. We were asking for who's gonna give us a qualified team? That's what we're reviewing
Okay,
at this stage.
so then we can send an RFP to those 2.
Well,
We just need to decide, do they meet our qualification
I think we look at those.
requirements? Then we can send the RFP to those 2 out of 4.
Yeah, the 2 that are interested that haven't submitted, what did we have? Just a phone call or?
Yeah, they wanted to know, like, do you want a cost estimate? Because you don't have, they didn't feel like they had enough to give us the cost estimate.
No, they didn't.
They were like,
Just tell them we're not there yet. All we're looking for is those qualifications right now so that we can start to meet with them. And
And I got that, like, to me, you told me that, we are looking for, interest and qualifications, so that was like an answer that I wrote down here. The second question I asked was like, what's gonna be our process so that I can start to get us headed towards whatever you wanna have as a process? And, in that, it did have a recommendation that maybe you should, interview them somewhere other than like the public venue.
Well, my take is we should encourage those two that haven't submitted yet to submit. So that we have four. It'd be nice to have four.
Yeah.
I think if we look at the qualifications where we're at right now, if there's an one that's super outstanding, then maybe we just go with them. If not, then maybe we do need to work with two or three of them to come back with some actual then proposals. So I think it's just gonna depend on what they look like. So I think if we could be a little bit flexible in which direction we go at this point, then we may end up just picking one and going, or we may end up having to work with more than one. I just thinking out loud here. So. Is that fair or?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I was already thinking the next step is, I mean, it costs money to do this. You know, the proposals, once we get to that point, cost $100,000 for the design.
Yeah, if they say that's what it's gonna take, then we say, all right, then we're gonna go see if we can get the money. Cause we do not have money to put to this, even a preliminary.
For the design.
Yeah, for the design.
Yeah, okay, so I'm just clarifying the design versus the construction.
Yeah, no, and construction's,
Which is another-
that's, construction, then once we have a final design,
Yeah,
we preliminary, final design based on site, we have a cost of, $3 million or whatever it is.
yeah.
Then that's what we take off to the state and to the tribe and see if they'll fund it.
In for just the design, we're not guaranteeing them we're gonna hire them. We're just looking at that for a city commissioner and ask for something of a similar budget. to
Yeah.
match it.
Yeah, we'd be hiring them if we're only working with one, but at least initially, if there's one that's outstanding and you want to go with them, then we'll do that. If there's more than one, then we need to work with them and have them each submit something based on whatever criteria we come up with. And so let's take a look at that list and see where we're at. see where
Yeah,
that
so
leaves
we're
us.
not guaranteed work yet. for
Hmm.
everybody.
This is off the website on the RFP that went out, and this was the general bullets of things that we put together, that we thought were needed.
Good start.
This? Yes, good. Okay.
This is what went out.
Yes, and, just also the reminder, you did all approve this to go out,
Yeah.
so, this is something that we just baked up out of our office.
That's a little different than what we're discussing today.
Yeah, it says RFP.
It's a little bit of a wonky process we're talking about because we don't have the money. I wanted to start somewhere, so that's where we're at.
Oh, yeah, and I'm not trying to be critical, I just wanna try to answer the folks the best that we can.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're getting, the products that you want and start trying to set you up on a process, to move forward, so that's all.
Question I have is something handled formally with forward, we have to reissue this. So,
Say it again, what's your question?
Question is, this pretty much says, tell us how much it's gonna cost us. Which is not what we want qualifications. Is this something that Ethan could just handle when he talks to these people? Or is this something we should have to reissue this request for proposal?
This isn't what was advertised in the paper though, is it?
The link to this, yeah.
The link to it is, but
In the, so bear with me
Okay.
here for a second, and, these are all of the papers that it went out to, sorry, I think this is our draft summary. Oh, here we go. This is exactly what was posted in the paper here. You did get a quote section.
So I think that the Ken's point, it seems like we asked for actual costs. But if we would, before we accepted those, we would look at the qualifications first. So I think to your point, you could be power in those conversations to ask for either written or yeah, ideally, points to their website, so that we can see the qualifications, before we actually make a selection.
Everybody's gonna have an easy time giving this, the qualifications document. We probably have them already all mostly made, right? Seems like the rough part is that they don't feel like they've got enough information to provide
Yeah.
the quote. And so that's what I'm trying to do, navigate here is how you want me to.
We don't have that yet. Go ahead and have them submit their qualifications and interest so that we can start meeting with them.
Okay.
And either we meet with them on the board or we have a committee. And I think the place to start is with that list. And those details will develop from there. I think that, that's a place to start, but, is that adequate enough for the board and for the staff to start having that conversation with them?
It is, it'd be ideal if I got an idea of how, we were gonna interview them, because we're gonna be talking to them, they're gonna ask that immediately after. That's like the two things that are, what's the next step is, and so like, if possible, I will, set us up a schedule, start plugging people into, a meeting schedule, because it takes a while to set those things up for us, if I know who's gonna be at the meeting.
Roger.
so here's my concern. Even though this says RFP, it's really more of a RFQ. We're asking somebody to develop a cost estimate for us. And that's a lot of work. That could be a $50,000 project, so to me, if we had given them exact dimensions, location, everything else, then we could have a quote back on like a building quote, a construction quote. But our thing is too ambiguous right now. There's too many unknowns. So what we do is we hire we hire the most qualified consultant team there, and then we sit down with them and start developing this overall building plan. And then they can, once they have an understanding of the scope and the size of it, then they can go ahead and work on a cost estimate, So to me, that's kind of, we're at the RFQ stage of this thing.
The cost estimate for what though?
For coming up with a number of what it's gonna cost to build that building that that's.
That's consistent with what everybody's.
But that's,
the feedback I'm getting from.
but that's a step that we're not even close to. All we're trying to do right now is get and maybe I'm just thinking completely wrong about this. I want you to tell me how much it's gonna cost to design a building based on those parameters. Now, maybe we can come up with more detailed parameters, but if it's gonna cost you $50,000 to do that, stop right there. That's all I need to know. Because we gotta go get the money. We gotta get that $50,000 to give them. Then they can produce that plan.
But that's what I'm saying. We haven't given them enough specific information for them to take and develop
That's why we're meeting.
that number, but they're not gonna wanna go to, that's a big effort on their part. They're gonna wanna get paid for doing that. You know, that's a job,
But we need to know how much.
that's in a job in of itself.
You paid how much?
So, well,
Chicken and egg.
no, we kind of didn't give them enough information on what we wanted, so, pardon me?
Can I ask a question out of this? Can you actually ask them to give you a quote for how much it's gonna cost to give us a quote?
Yeah, one of the things. that I
Happens all the time.
You could, but we need, they're gonna come back with all those sites, we need site-specific information.
And not only that, like, I mean, they're gonna, so to get to the point of where you need to be, they're gonna have to start off with, like, they'll come in with 7 different drawings.
Yeah,
Building layouts, and the building layout that you pick is gonna drive the cost of everything, right? So you pick like a really square, plain Jane metal corrugated building, that is gonna be a different arrangement than a modern, you know, anything that's got stone, or, you know, what you think of as government building, right? So those are fundamental parts that they're gonna need to know, and they'll be happy to sit down and work with us, you know, to get us there. But, you know, the only thing I can think of is we could ask them for an hourly. You know, like how much would it cost per hour to sit down and do the design work, to get us, you know, closer to the total quote that we're gonna need. That would be an option, and of course, you know, some of that'll depend, like, well, if, you know, we need the engineer, because you're gonna have you know, a bridge or something on there, you know, we'll need to have some basics.
so let me give you an example. So typically, an analogy to this would be if a water system's gonna go out and enlarge, add more piping and another well or something like that. Okay, so the first thing the owner, the water district's gonna do is go out with a RFQ and say, give me your qualifications to prepare. I want you to prepare a preliminary engineering report. That's kind of what we're asking them to do, prepare a preliminary building design. But, so yeah, because you don't know what the hell you're building yet.
Well, no, I mean, to me, it seems like we're still right at the RFQ stage.
That's what I'm.
Not arguing,
Oh.
I'm just trying to understand.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying, is we're at the RFQ stage. Out of these 2 or 4 that submittals we've got, we select one of them, and then they're gonna tell us how much it's gonna cost for us to hire them to prepare that preliminary engineering report.
Okay.
They're not gonna do it on
Okay.
pro bono, that's for sure.
Okay, so
They got more work lined up.
And that's the number, the first number we're looking for, yes.
Yeah,
Well, like our. Sort of level.
The hourly idea, and so, but most of these guys, and every time I've done one of those designs, like you're talking about, was big engineering projects, and you're gonna do an RFQ, and it does have one thing that we don't have here, which is a T, not to exceed amount, because, I mean, all the stuff I've done has been government, driven. And so you start off with a certain amount of money that you've got to accomplish a project. And then you go backwards, right? And then if you can, you know, whoever the RFQ that's coming in can bring us like high quality people and then undercut the not to exceed amount, and, you know, that's how you win the bid.
But right now, we're right at, all we should be doing right now is just looking at qualifications. Next step, how much is it gonna cost us to do a bid, is step number 2.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. And we may, and again, qualifications, we may pick one, or we may end up working with more than one.
Just to also clarify too, that was spec'd out in the letter that's available on the website. I mean, there's a line that says, to start the process, prospective contractor should submit an initial letter of interest, with a
Yes.
summary of relevant firm experience, professional information for leading key personnel, contact information, any prospectus available. That's the initial step, not the
Yeah.
cost estimate, that.
Yeah.
Right.
And we got that yet?
From
have-
2.
We have that from 2, but I wanted to circle back because I've got this other question, you know, because the lead-in talks about the bid. And so, but again, I do think you answered that right off. And so now the next part is just how do you want to interview the 2 to 4 folks?
Yeah.
You know, I think we could, you know, and with again, the only thing I'm trying to do is like, be nice to not have to do a 10 meeting.
Well, let's, for discussion's sake, say we go with what you talked about, staff
Yeah.
and 2 board members. Okay. My question for the board then is, that list that we produced good enough for now? Or should we sit down and rough out something a little more, in a little more detail? So that the board has something to give to this group, a little more detail. Talk it through as if we're designing.
I think that's premature. I think I would just want to keep it one step at a time.
Okay.
And it's just me, not speaking for the sub, whatever.
Yeah.
I just would be clear for me, we have one task, and that is to determine qualifications. Task number 2, once we determine qualifications, is sit down and decide what we actually need.
You're right.
I'm gonna sprinkle it a little bit, not to try to confuse it, but my recommendation when we sat down with them is to let them, pitch us a few of the ideas of what they think we need. And I would rank them, some of the ranking that I would do during the qualification meeting would be based on how sufficient they pitched us the things that we need, because that's what we're ultimately after, is some people who have expertise in helping figure out actually what you need for this building, you know, because they do this all the time. And so that is what, you know, I would say it's not just qualification that you rank it on, but you also rank it on some of the ideas that they're bringing to the table.
My band is part of qualifications. I don't have a problem.
Okay, sorry, then I didn't.
If you have some notion of a ranking form, you might want to just draft that up and send it out so we can see it.
Okay.
And then, as long as everybody's okay, I'd say start setting up the meetings. Let's take a break. Let's take a break. All right.
What's that? I'm trying, I gotta find
It's a bit of a wonky process, but I think we start. All right. So, I don't know if we need any action on that building request. I think, are we good with where we're at, and everybody kind of have a game plan? And I asked, Haley, we printed out the letter that actually went out, so that's fairly clear, directions within that. So read through that. We need to talk anymore, just flag us on an email or whatever, and we'll talk, but that's a good start. All right. Number 6, Office of Engineer updates.
Chairman, board members, I'm going to go through this pretty quick so that you'll have time to get some of the other items on your agenda. You have, an updated form that has the September 9, water right application received, spreadsheet, for your consideration, sort of standard thing. We try to keep you, informed of what we're seeing in our office. It's a little lower than other years, but, seems like that counts with the water right applications are getting more complicated. Under, the staff leave updates, just as a heads up, we have 3 staff members rotating through, leave. I'll be gone for a couple of weeks. I'll still, chime in to manage essential items with the office, like, time sheets, you know, and I'll do that remotely, but, after I return, Captain Schubert will be out, then James, Frakes will be out, so he's himself married.
Oh,
So, be out for a couple of weeks, and just wanted to give you a heads up, it will be, you know, a little shorter staff than usual, around here. But I think we've got it managed where we'll have coverage. You might have seen the email I sent out where, we've got James and Sydney promoted into the designee position, so, that'll help us with, the timelines that we've got managed as we move forward. And, that's working out pretty well, just so you're aware, we still are maintaining our general, philosophy, which is that people look at every action that we take on a water rate. So we will maintain that arrangement where the author of the letter will have a different person under the concurrence. So if there's another defect that goes out, we've got 2 sets of eyes on everything. That's been the business, and you know, we want to continue to do that. The difference now is that James and Sydney can do each other's work without needing to be around for the easy water right action.
So do we need to think about getting James a wedding present? Just ask.
Someone had a vineyard or something.
You know, a bottle of wine?
You know, I had a connection like that.
Yeah, I wish I knew someone.
But when is he getting married? Let's talk about the important stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's pop this thing open here and, looks like he is out October 21st to November 1st.
Oh, good for him.
Somewhere in your.
Yep.
Good for him. And yeah, if you have a bottle of wine or something, yeah, sure, we can. How do you know? Oh.
I'm serious, you know, a year or two.
These must be some really exclusive bottles that can't get your hands on them.
Okay, yeah, we should think about that, yeah.
Yeah.
And I might have a bottle or two.
His wife.
Well, that's true.
Yeah,
Would we want to pitch in a little bit each to get a present?
Sure.
yeah, we can do that. Sounds like sometime this month.
Yep. I like that, or afterwards. All right, I'll put that down as something to give you reminders about.
Okay, so our next meeting. When is our next meeting?
October 9.
No, he's not leaving till So why don't I bring the card to the next meeting? How about I pick up a card and we can all sign it for James?
That sounds good.
Okay. I'll take care of that.
Card and a money tree, just throw some money in it.
Put some money in and get him a gift certificate. or
Yeah,
something.
tie it to a bottle of wine.
But you're not,
For a while, I have to.
Yeah. Once once you have a successful application, we celebrate. Thanks, Georgia.
Yeah,
All righty, the website posting updates, we, are still working on getting the, 6 DDF, up and posted with the consolidated WP&Ps. But we anticipate that'll be done maybe as soon as tomorrow, so that, folks can start to get that application form and have all of those policies that you pass in one big group. You'll recall we're putting the complaints and the hearings and the domestic allowance sections all back together. You know, they were broken out for individual noticing it. Now they're all kind of going back together. And so Monday, probably at the latest, that'll be done.
Who's doing it?
It's James and myself. Just general project updates, you know, we continue to make progress on policies for the state-based registrations, continue to make progress on policies for the tribes registrations and their water rights. There's still a lot to iron out with how the tract water rights ownerships and ownership updates will all occur on trust lands. That, you know, remains to be kind of a complicated topic that we're working through, and trying to do real great about getting together and helping us work through that stuff.
so has the DNR started transferring all those state-based things over then, or what's?
You're not planning on transferring anything until the virus is up and running. But as a heads up, unbeknownst to us, they did post all of the 180-day registrations on the public facing database that now show up as public water rights that are pending, but they've got the DNRC header on there. And we're communicating with them, so we would like to be better informed when they do big changes on the public side of water rights that our office is interacting with. That has
Speaking-
actually caused a noticeable amount of traffic in our office because people are now finding stuff that they know they can find that is out there. And
Well, it's that whole transition piece that's on my mind when I was asking earlier about how that data process would work. And so it just, I think it's related to that. So speaking of wireless, I mean, it's been a while since we've gotten a good update on that. And I know things have kind of been delayed more. Is that?
yeah, and so what you really need with wireless is you need to have about wireless. And, you know, it's gonna be something you're gonna have to sort of sit down and really work through. There's a number of items that, some of which will require your direction and, require you to kind of sit through and hear the really detailed side of where we're at with the database and where that project is headed.
Is that something we can or should put on a regular agenda, or is that something that we should have a special meeting for?
I am, potentially gonna add that to your October 9th meeting, because I think it's important. But I'm still You have a number of important things that are needed right now. You've got this budget, effort that is, significant. You've got, see if I write, yeah. It seems like actually probably your two most pressing items would be budget and wires, right now, you know. We're still developing policy for your permits and changes, so that is not gonna be in your lap, by October 9th. I know that you are excited to see that, but,
So I was gonna ask you where you're at on that anyway, so.
we're moving forward, and I mean, you did actually move some stuff that didn't go in permits, like the extension,
Yeah,
today, and so that's getting us forward. We know it's a priority, we are actively working on it. We're also a little nervous about the, state restrictions too, so trying to balance that.
so you started on the policy for the permits and changes?
Yes,
Okay,
it's very dry.
Well, there was also, John and I had a meeting with Ethan and James back in February of this year, where we had proposed a whole bunch of language to the permits and changes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it,
and the board was aware of that, and that information was spread with the board, but again, it was something to work off of.
Yep.
And now we need to really massage through it, given all of the policies that have now been approved.
So so October 9th, I mean, without focusing in too much detail on the bigger bigger agenda, budget and Wi-Fi, or Wi-Fi. Might as well be Wi-Fi. Wireless. What else are you thinking? Are we looking at?
the other things that we have that are a little bit pressing, is we do need to, revisit the OE personnel policies. Issues that we resolve.
So I pose again, should we have, asking maybe to the board as well, should we have a separate meeting on wireless?
well, we could just invite, if we wanted to, we could just invite Ayla and her crew to come up. I guess Kathy Schubert could,
I think the first meeting that we should just have it with us, maybe even as a closed session.
There's some sensitive things that we just need to discuss.
And I'm just trying to pick up your cues here. It sounds like it's gonna take some time to discuss that through, so. To me, that speaks of a special meeting, but that's just me. You guys wanna,
2 hours, only guess.
so,
I'm pitching,
given.
it's gonna be a 2 hour.
Given that, we could add it to the agenda for the 9th, but maybe think about making it a little more of an extended meeting.
That certainly is possible. We have, and I also have in my notes that on the 9th, you might want to have another lunch. That was Sunday. So
Yeah.
I was trying to like.
Yeah, no, good, thanks for the reminder, so thinking about that meeting, you guys wanna do?
Our last lunch that we had, we didn't have a full staff.
Correct.
Maybe the next one, probably would have.
But it would be, if we were gonna talk about the wires on that day, it would be worth it for us to try to get Schubert up here. Let me see what that schedule is. I still think we should have, like, probably Washington Government. You can't, you definitely need me. I think James can fill in the details that Kathy, bring to the table about it. And, I'll have her put us a brief together before she takes off. So we won't quite have all staff. Sorry.
So, sticking with the 9th, a lunch, virus, budget, policies. We have a separate meeting on, for something, or have an extended day.
I'm open. It sounds like we need
You guys-
to.
You guys are teaching, so.
Yeah, I'm on campus till 12:30 on the 9th, but I could get here after I clean up fish, so.
It should be open.
So what is that meeting open from when to when? What are we talking about, trying to do a lunch and adding virus to the agenda as well as everything else? And how late do you want to go? When do you want to start? Lunch,
10 to 5.
proposal, 10 to 5.
Here's a one.
What would we start with? Virus? You okay with that?
Yeah, it's whatever works. I mean, we're in that time of the year where it's gonna probably be hard to get all of us home.
Yeah. I don't know how much of your heart is set on learning about virus, so I'll leave that to you.
I would, if we're really gonna focus on the budget and wireless, I bet we could do that in, 1-5 arrangement. You know, and we'll end the public portion meeting around 3. Try to, not, so, you know, we can still have a lunch, minus the lunch, but it's so.
Call to order, or are you hitting the fly?
Fly.
Oh.
Make it so.
Really like that idea.
So, restate what you're thinking.
I think we can do, budget and wireless in a 1 to 5 group with, 3 hours of public meeting and 2 hours of, proposed.
Budget then virus, so
I think we need to let Rhonda weigh in on the budget,
Sure.
so.
Please, would it be possible to have a budget meeting sooner than October 9th? Because that's the beginning of our first quarter and we've got a lot of stuff to work through. It would be nice if we could have, a meeting designated just for the budget, if that's appropriate, if we can do that. We have a lot to discuss.
You know,
so there's
Thank you,
another one,
Rhonda.
thank you. So there's another one,
yeah, when is our meeting with
the 9th.
Shelley?
17th?
17th, huh?
So
September,
I can't be at that meeting because
yeah, that's okay,
good to go without me.
yeah.
When did can we do October the 1st budget meeting?
We're,
Tuesday,
by then, we're into the quarter and payroll and everything, if we're gonna do that, so. I kinda hear what Rhonda's saying, we need to probably make some decisions before.
If you may, can I, or We are 2 weeks behind on our 30-day transition, because of some technical difficulties. And so we really can't wait until October to get going. We need to have some kind of, input and decision-making before then. Because the transition's not even started at this point.
So we're gonna meet on the 17th.
Yes,
So
so a
how,
meeting after that would be great.
okay,
Let's look,
That's at 10, right? Shellick and Davis.
can we look at the September calendar? Let's see, so 17th is,
And it would be, great if we can get the budget committee to meet with, Red Tail prior to the Shalleck and Davis meeting. Just so we can all, discuss what we need to before we are on that Zoom meeting with Shalleck and Davis, because we are going to be charged for that meeting.
it's okay.
If it were a Zoom meeting, I could participate on the 16th in that later afternoon,
We can make that work.
anytime after 2.
Okay. For a budget committee on the Zoom after 2 p.m.
Does that work for you? Bill?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, I'll reach out to Red Tail and see if she can participate.
and then the 17th, and then post 17th, we want to have something
Yes, please.
as soon as possible.
What about the next Wednesday is, oh, I can't do the 25th. I could do the 23rd or the 24th, if any of those days work, or the 19th and 20th.
Yeah, I could participate on the 19th in the afternoon. The 20th, I'm in the field all day.
The afternoon of the 19th?
So we talking about budget committee or the whole board?
The whole board.
The whole board. Budget committee, we're talking about on the 16th, and then meeting on the 17th.
With Shalleck and Davis,
Shalleck
and
and
then
Davis.
once we get that information, then we need to meet as a board.
So we're not having a board meeting on the 17th?
No, that's,
When are you meeting, what time are you meeting on the 17th?
I think it's 10
10
a.m.
o'clock.
Are you available on the 17th?
Me?
Or are you available? Well, you're available on the 17th.
I'm available after 2 o'clock. I'm teaching several students online in different states and different time
oh my
zones.
God.
But,
I could join by Zoom.
but you're doing the 17th with Shalleck and,
That's a Zoom.
okay.
Well, that's a Zoom.
So what if we did after 2 o'clock, a board meeting,
I could
that
hop
same
in
day?
if I could join by Zoom on the 17th after 2.
I'm just thrown out as, I mean, it's a little tight, but
Would you be ready by then?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure what I honestly don't know how this is gonna go with Shalleck and Davis.
okay,
We thought we were gonna be farther ahead than we are.
okay.
I apologize.
No, I was just,
Would the 19th be
you
better?
know,
It would give me a little bit of more time to prepare for you guys to meet, for sure.
I think for noticing purposes too, yeah,
Yeah,
Tuesday, you have to notice by today.
Right.
What about the 23rd?
23rd.
I can participate if it's in the afternoon and by Zoom.
How's Ken looking? Wow, tentatively wow then. Afternoon?
I don't have anything other than the budget on my agenda. I'm at your guys' disposal.
So afternoon of the 23rd. Guys wanna shoot for that?
At 2, is that what you're?
I can hop in at 2, yeah.
Let me double check.
And this won't take a long time away. We don't know.
Have any
You
idea?
know, it'd be just focused on that one item.
Yeah,
That'll take, if we did that, then that would take that at least maybe off of the agenda for the 9th.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, and if we were gonna do that, I would probably, a couple, offices instead.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
right, so. Those.
23rd after 2, so after 2 meaning what, 2:30?
No, just at 2, I can
So at 2?
join by 2.
Okay,
I just have meetings with students before then.
okay.
2 to 5.
2 to 5.
2 to 5? Or is heated?
Well, you want to make an agenda for that one?
Yeah.
Okay, James and Cindy can plug together with the Zoom stuff.
Yep.
I don't know what the topics are gonna be.
There'll be enough time for you, Rhonda.
I sure hope so. Yeah, I sure hope so. We're getting there.
Why don't you just hold on a second? So, or did you have anything else under your set? Cause we're going right into the budget update and we could just do that now if you're ready.
That's appropriate for me. Yeah.
Anybody have any other,
Totally done. Yeah.
any other questions for Ethan before we do budget update?
I can tell you more about the permits and whatever. We're getting there.
And we would shoot for having wireless on the 9th.
Wireless and Office of the Engineer Personnel Policy too.
All right. Okay, are you ready for budget update?
Sure.
All right, let's
Ready
do
or
it.
not, here we go. So in your guys' finance folder, you'll see a letter from Red Hill. And so if you guys get a chance to maybe peruse that, and then I will also tell you that the first letter of engagement has been completed. She voiced it. So this is a summary here. Take your time and let me know when you guys are ready. So again, the finance folders. There you go.
Oh,
Should have your name on it. It should say finance.
Why don't you walk us through this?
Yep. So, you guys have several folders on your desk. The folder that you'll need has a name on it and says finance. Trying to keep things a little bit separate because there's a lot of paperwork for you guys to go through. So the one you guys are looking for is a red tail letter, and that's your engagement summary for the first 25 hours that she billed us.
It's two-sided.
It is 2 pages.
Yeah, why don't you tell us what happened here?
So this is just a summary. There's just immediate actions that she has suggested. On the first paragraph, it's set up an initial enhancements. Basically, she made our chart of accounts, and that is in your folder. Your second handout here is an Excel spreadsheet, and that is our new government chart of accounts that she has just recently completed for us. She did have quite a bit of difficulty wading through what we already had in the system. And so if you see this one that says QBO on the top, that's what is currently in our QuickBooks. And if you notice that there's a lot of a chart of accounts in this, it's because anything that does not have a number in front of it, she could not delete out of the system. So she actually extricated this Excel spreadsheet for us, so we have a clean look at what our chart of accounts are going to be going forward. So she is going to start working with us. I believe we're going to meet with her on site, and then we're going to start transitioning and trying to get things entered into QBO, QuickBooks Online. It's the process so far. We haven't even started. We're still doing the reconciliation with our physical files. I can't even really give you an honest percentage of how far we are through, but you know, I'm hoping we're nearing maybe the quarter way through point, but it's just really time consuming. So in the engagement letter, paragraph 1 at the very bottom, immediate action, develop comprehensive financial policies and procedures to support the effective implementation of the mission and enhance financial governance. It looks like she missed an R in that. And then on the number 2, her action required is implementation, strict controls to attach source documentation for all transactions. So I want to let you guys know that the QuickBooks Online that we have imported over has no source documentation attached to it. And so that is one of the processes that we're trying to do, is reconcile what's missing. And then we have got to manually put all the documentation into the system. And so it's time consuming. And then on the bottom of paragraph 2 or section 2, the payroll system presents significant compliance risks and inaccuracies described as the most disorganized encountered in professional experience. The recording of payroll calculations were lumped into one account and not proper accounting procedures. So we're coming up into our 3rd fiscal year, and we want to really get on top of this before we go into another fiscal year with a problem. So we're a little bit behind already, so we're kind of feeling a little bit stressed, to say the least. That we're hoping that we're going to get the payroll pulled over and we can moving in the right direction. You guys have any questions on this before I go into the next part of the folder?
Questions?
Not yet. I need time to absorb, I think, before I ask questions.
Sure.
This acronym FWB.
It's Flathead Reservation Water Management Board. She must have quick typed it. Yeah, it's supposed to be definitely grammatical.
Backing up just a little bit, you were talking about trying to get things not on the payroll, but the previous comment you had made, getting things caught up.
Mhm.
Uh,
I have an example if you would like me to.
Well, I'm not looking for great detail. I'm just trying to understand. So if we're trying to set up a procedure to do this moving forward and to get caught up at the same time,
Sure.
is there a way to bifurcate that work to make at least moving forward simple, and then
So
do we absolutely have to get completely caught up and then move forward?
unfortunately, we can't really go forward until we fix what's already happened. There's just no way to, our budget wouldn't be good, our numbers wouldn't be correct. You know, we can't, honestly, until we have a good grasp of what's happened before, we really can't project anything. Because we don't know what's been left over for the prior year's budget. We don't know what's happened with what's been spent. We're still trying to honestly find receipts, being able to separate them out. The receipt tracking was done by an image in Excel document. We got to extract that image out of an Excel document, convert it over to a PDF so it can be uploaded into the books. And so I have an example, and it turns out enough if you guys all kind of want to see what's going on, but it's just taking a while. So I'm doing the manual part of it while she's doing the rest of it. So this is what an Excel receipt looks like. So this is the reimbursement on top, and these are the attached receipts. A lot of times when you get in there, you can't really see them. You're having a hard time understanding what the receipts are, and they're all attached onto one page. So I have got to go in individually, take the images, extract it out, put it into Word, and then convert the Word document to a PDF for each transaction. So moving forward, we need to have a different process for maintaining receipts, because we do not have let me rephrase that. There's very little original documentation found. So when it comes to receipts, unless we have this image, we don't have original documentation. So there's instances like yesterday, there was a receipt missing for lift desk, and we were trying to determine if all stations were accounted for. And we couldn't put the receipt together, so it took, a long time on a phone call trying to figure out the last 3 years what happened to that transaction and get that invoice. And that's, 3 hours spent on one item. And so that's why the process is slow, but please, would you like to look at these?
No,
Okay,
I don't. Any board members want to look at them?
so that's
Well, given that though,
original receipts.
but given that, to get us caught up, is there something we can do to help? Maybe if we had some additional help,
Yes, that would be great.
what would that look like? And
Maybe
what do we need?
potentially the compliance technician, or an additional admin assistant or somebody that could come in and help do this. That would be amazing, because some of this is just time consuming. It's not necessarily something that it's my time best spent, but it is something that has to be done. So it's your discretion, obviously, as a board.
Well, yeah, but we need to know what is needed. So, are those staff positions that we're talking about, or I'm wondering if, so you mentioned staff positions, so is that something that we're prepared to do, or should we be looking at contracting with someone to help for a couple months?
I don't have an answer for you directly, but I do know that with me being taken, I foresee my position being pretty well taken full-time. I don't know if I will have a lot of time left over to do the compliance technician position, that if you guys want me to work on the finances, that's gonna be more of a full-time job, especially with payroll, benefits administration and stuff. So then that leaves a vacancy of a compliance technician. And so with what's coming down the road with the future work, I think that it would be in the best interest for the office to potentially get a position like that filled. But that's up to you guys.
Is there a vacancy currently on the chart right now for another compliance tech?
We have the only authorized vacancy, we have right now for or eyebrows.
Well, I think Haley's rewriting the PD for a financial, what did you call it?
Financial technician. I sent around an email on August 18th or 19th with a position description for a finance technician, given the board's direction on wanting to create a finance team. So that would essentially take Rhonda out of the compliance tech position. Just for an update, but I have not received anything on that email, so that would be greatly appreciated.
For all of us.
So in one sense, then there is a compliance tech position open.
It would be the vacancy.
Yeah, and then part of the problem is we've been relying on Christy to help, but Christy's been out of the office a lot lately. So then Rhonda's not getting that assistance. So
What do we need to do to move on the position description that you described? Do you need something from the board on that?
Yes, I mean, I put some questions in the email that I would like direction on. Because right now there is no position description for that actual position. I just rewrote Rhonda's current position description and changed the title. So yes, I need some just direction via email. I can recirculate that so it's on everybody's, or at the top of everybody's inbox.
Well, I'm just trying to think this through. So is there, has the personnel team been able to look at that? If not, and if we're going to move on that, do we need board action on that? What do you need from the board then?
I just need to know if that looks fine, given what the board wants to do with the finance team.
Okay,
Okay, well, I'll make it a point to look at that and get back to you. on
go ahead and
that.
resend it. They'll take a look and then
Yeah.
why don't, let's make a point to look at that and get some feedback to Roger, Georgia and Haley. So we have a record of it.
And then if we make that transition, then we could go ahead and advertise another compliance tech for a position too.
Okay.
And I guess we probably need to find out what Christie's status is. We've had some timesheet issues. I guess you have a policy for, she had 17 hours of PTO, but first she had some bereavement time. I guess it's 4:45. I think this number 7.5, I haven't had a chance to review it, and I have comments on it. So I'd say I want to defer that one to our next meeting. I think there's information also available that Rhonda's got relative to some of this stuff that should go in there that we just got today. So, and 7th board compensation, I guess we could touch on that. So I guess that would give us time if we want to go into an executive session. Yes.
You want to do it at the end here?
Yeah, we could just get through
Through them and
7.4.
then do an
Yeah.
executive session
Yeah.
to talk about some personnel matters.
Sure.
All right, so continuing on,
If you guys are good with that, we'll just continue through the packet so we can get to the.
let's do that.
Okay, so the next one you have is our current bank account. That is what we have in our account right now. Specifically for bank. It should be the third one down, fourth one down. That's our bank balance.
Okay,
Okay, the next three are quotes for potential purchase of a vehicle. We have a lot of trainings happening and I'm hearing conversations that we're gonna need to start doing site visits. I believe that they have one pending next week with Scott and James going up to Per Dam to do a well lock for somebody. And so things are picking up in our office. And I believe that it's about the time to make a purchase. Our fiscal year that's ending had a startup costs for $185,000 to include either a leased or purchased vehicle. So the vehicles I gave you are Ford, Dodge, and Chevy. They're all white, they're all half-ton, they're all four-wheel drive. They're pretty well the same across the board. They're within several thousand difference of each other, and these prices are good till the end of the month, which we have until the end of the month to meet our funding agreement.
and these are purchases or leases?
Purchases. After doing some research with GSA, I think it's in our benefit to actually spend the money that has been allotted for our startup costs and also have a little bit more flexibility and maintain something that we can actually depreciate the cost instead of actually having an expense that we can't depreciate.
Ian, have you looked at these?
I have not seen these,
Okay,
but I will immediately ask why we would get a truck. Like, most of our work is people or small equipment oriented. And like something with, maybe a little bit more maneuverability might make sense for us.
Well, I can take the fault for that. I told Rhonda to check into a half-ton pickup, four-door crew cab. I mean, that's standard vehicle for a field operation. You gotta have something, there's probably 90% of the vehicles in consulting staff fleets are crew cab, small box pickup, so you can put equipment in the back. And if you need to, you can put a topper on it. I mean, it's, how many, most of yours are probably that.
We just went over this, we just got some new, SUVs in, and when we had our meeting on who was gonna get them, consensus from our technicians would stay with the trucks. Just for the reason you said, neither a popper or you can get little equipment boxes to, really easy to bolt in.
Yeah.
And that's what we have in all of our trucks right now.
And the consensus was from the staff that they would prefer a pickup truck with a topper.
And if you get crew cab, you have a lot of room that way, they can go on field.
That's
trips.
right. Yeah.
And it's also high clearance. There's definitely there was some concern that they're not always going to know where they're going.
Mhm.
And to have high clearance and something that will do well in the snow is something that they kind of waste. So, and this is what we came up with, and this is all local dealerships. Ford and then the Chevy, Dodge dealer, both in Ronan. So we would be supporting local, and these trucks are in stock right now. If anybody wants to take a look at them. They're on the lot right now.
Does that help, Ethan? All that input?
Yeah.
Okay, so remind me of the money part again. I know you just said it, so tell us.
We have, the $185,000 startup funds that need to be spent before the end of this fiscal year, which originally it was set up from June 1st to July 30th, I believe. But we've just voted recently to go to the new fiscal year, but I don't know how it's gonna affect this one. So I'm hoping that everybody's gonna allow us to go with our new fiscal year and give us a couple more months.
So part of that, in the past, the budget is just, we've had different categories and the original startup money got set into a separate line item category, the $185,000. So that's startup fees. So we should have had that zeroed out, to show that we're being good stewards of that money. So this was in addition to moving it to some other things, but this was one way to help spend that down.
And that money would be available then also for licensing and insurance?
Yeah, we have in the fund, there's $185,000, and I know that we're not even halfway through that money just by an estimation of what we've spent so far in startup fees with computers and desks and stuff. We're only a fraction into that. This is money that we're not gonna see again, and they don't want it on our budget again, so we've gotta spend it basically.
Does your fleet purchase or lease?
Oh, we're GSA lease.
And you said something about GSA, so we're talking about purchase, not GSA?
Yeah, GSA leases are kind of spendy, so they're kind of all in one deal, and if you have a fleet, they're great because it covers gas, it covers insurance, it covers mileage tracking. We're not a fleet agency. We have one vehicle and it's in our best interest because it's gonna be sporadically driven to just do that tracking and purchase in-house, because then we can actually depreciate it as an asset also.
Or did we look at lease options?
I had originally got some numbers for an SUV for Ethan months ago, and we were around $800 estimation per month. And that included fuel, but that's also based off of mileage, and it's hard to project what that mileage is going to be going forward. And then you do not have something that actually depreciates. You do not have an asset. And so it might be, I feel that it would be in our best interest to actually have that control.
And
Mr. Chairman?
yes,
Recently talked to Billy Palmer, he's the new property and supply person in charge of vehicles. And he just yesterday made the statement that he thought that it would be better to go to purchasing the vehicles out there. because GSA is very expensive.
And you're limited on what you can do for insurance on a GSA vehicle, so if you have an accident with the GSA vehicle, it tends to just be right out of your pocket.
Yeah. Comes out of the
Which
program.
is a significant issue for GSA.
Okay. And insurance for these?
So insurance, in my experience, is going to be based on who's gonna be driving it. And so for our office, my suggestion would be that anybody who is going to be driving it have an acceptable driving record that the insurance would want to insure at a reasonable rate. And so we might not be able to let everybody drive it, but maybe we would have a pool of people that could be designated drivers. And I would see that, you know, if we have something as this as a resource for the office, it would also benefit going to trainings. You know, we have a training coming up to Helena. You know, it would be great to be able to send everybody in a government vehicle to have that covered.
So in the meantime, where do we keep it? On the street?
My suggestion is, I did talk to Ronan Police Department during the winter months. They do not allow anybody to be on primary street because of snow plowing. So right now, we're allowed to park it probably in front of our camera here to keep it safe. They did suggest that if we do park it on the side street and we're concerned about its security, to install a camera above it. And it will be just as secure as it would be anywhere else.
Don't know if there are any other options for places to put it or park it or store it. We found here.
I would imagine it'd be, at, and we probably park it out at Drives Complex or somewhere. It would not mind if we left it over there.
Another option is it has the Ronan camp just across the street right here. We could ask Eric Greer,
And that's fenced.
just fenced and, you know, we just need to get a key to the
Better, yeah.
There might be some options there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I would like to be able to say that we can run errands, go to the post office and bank, and we'd be able to have a vehicle close at hand, not far away to go get it.
Well, yeah, but maybe weekends or long weekends or place
Sure.
times when it would be beneficial to have a start. Be good to have that option. All right, so I'm reading these, but why don't you tell us what the numbers are? Just the bottom line numbers that we're looking at,
So-
we're gonna spend.
The Ford is a V6 and it's the most expensive. This is just by looking at everything, I would want to potentially eliminate the Ford from the pile.
What's that number?
It's 48,000. 48,606. And just by reading the reviews and everything else, I just don't think that that would definitely isn't my favorite. It's also the most expensive. The
Where are
next,
you seeing 48,606? I'm
The
looking
sticker?
at 49,882.
the sticker here,
That's the number we're looking at?
yep, that's the door price. And in the second page, it's
Where's the-
actually a higher MSRP.
Oh, these big red numbers.
That's why you could.
Well, I was looking at the back and the back
Yeah.
says 49,882 and I thought that was it.
Yeah, it's 48,606.
606, okay,
And that's their best price that they can give us out the door, and it's a
Okay.
V6.
okay,
And then the second two are from Ronan Motors here in town, and both of them are real comparable. You got one at 44,000, and that is gonna be the Chevy, which is gonna be the most affordable. And then a little bit higher, not much, is the Ram. The crew has definitely asked that we do also budget in if approved a topper for this truck. So per year and such.
yeah, that makes
So if
sense.
you go to the second page, you can, or the last page, you can view the trucks side by side and they're both white. So we're trying to compare apples and apples as best as we can.
And through the years, I've had both of these vehicles, and right now I got a 2500 HD
Yeah,
Chevy, and I like that better than the other ones I had.
I personally like the ride on a Chevy
Yeah.
overall. And it's got the most creature comforts for long distance travel. You've got a bunch of people in the cab, I think.
And the crew cabs, got enough room to put 3 people in the back.
Yeah.
Will they give us a deal on a topper?
We can always ask them.
I mean, we're
I'm willing to
gonna
do
have
a
to,
deal.
have to buy them somewhere. So you guys ready to do something on this now? I mean, do we need to do it now, or we want to let them think about it and take action when we meet on the budget?
That's completely up to you. The sooner we can get this done, the,
You gotta spend the money.
I don't see
Just
a
throw it
reason,
out.
I don't see a reason to wait.
I don't know.
Okay,
Yeah, pull the trigger.
Just don't get a Ford. I drive a Ford. I was just telling Amy, the tribes used to have a lot of Fords in the fleet. George, I don't know if
We
they
just
still
got
do.
one in F-150 and the technician that got it, the very first thing, I need some knobby tires.
Well, they had this auto lock feature
Yeah.
and the doors would auto lock when you're in the field and get you locked out. And that's happened to me multiple times with my own vehicle. So they had ended up having to take the whole door assembly off and get a new door that didn't have a lock on it. I mean, I was coming to a board meeting and my back rear door just flew open.
Oh, my gosh.
I had to bungee strap it down to get to, I mean, anyway.
I have a new Ford and it's only got 12,000 miles on it. I've already had it in the dealer 3 times for warranty.
Yeah, and James has the same truck with the V6 or something. He said don't, because he's already having issues with his transmission. So I'm, it's a Ford also. The consensus is no Fords. Office wide.
Do you know what Ford stands for?
well, so so who has actually laid eyes on these?
I have not laid eyes on these.
Ethan, have you had a chance? So I think
No, I have not.
we need to have somebody lay eyes on these and say, or at least one you want us to look at, and
I
so
would
that
encourage these two.
these two being the Dodge and the
Yeah.
Dodge and Chevy. So
And I'd be happy to go with anybody.
I have to come down here tomorrow anyway, so I can do it.
You wanna do it
with?
Yeah.
do it with Rhonda and Ethan. I mean, it'd be
Sure.
good to have somebody like Ethan or staff, somebody
Yeah,
take a look at this, because they're gonna be using it.
We're gonna be
My,
driving.
my truck's a little doggy, but
So if we do that, you wanna wait for that, or you guys wanna take action and say pending review?
there's only $500 difference in price, so I'd say let's take action and they can be the final decider.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So you ready for public comment?
yes.
Yes. Yes. All right, any public comment? Anybody out there? With any public?
There's no public.
There is no public. I don't see no public here, so on the record, no public comment. So what is your motion?
So I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of a vehicle from Ronan Motors, either the Dodge or the Chevy, pending review by Ken, Ethan, and Rhonda.
Motion by Roger,
I'll second.
second by George. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, approves. All right,
All right, the last
What's that?
one we'll quickly go through is the last little insert in here. It's about identification cards. I have done my best to try to get us government issued ID cards. We are such a small office and the fees are so high that they actually just said that they can't really help us. The card is, if you look at this price list, we have $23 per enrollment, $30 per card, and a subscription fee. You might have to, I think Shane may be able to attest to the PID card a little bit more than I am. They're so advanced, they're more used for technology and entry into secure areas. Not something we necessarily need going forward, and the cost is quite high. We have to not only we have to have an agency endorse us and go to their site. So every one of us who would need an ID card would have to make a trip to Missoula to actually get it. So I think I've done enough research. I feel that we can confidently say that we're not going to qualify. So then the next one that we have are these. That's $195 funding, and I'm going to pass these out to you guys. And they will let us customize it, and $195 is just prepayment and 25 cards. We have ownership of the account, the design, all the information that goes into it. And so it runs less than $10 a card. So if the board members wanted cards, we can do that. We can do it for staff members. They're cheap enough, we can change titles on them. They do have security features that we can utilize, like holographics and some other stuff. So if these are acceptable, we can start an account with them and give you guys a proof to look at.
Does starting an account cost?
$195 to start the account, and it covers 25 cards, and it just deducts from that balance $10 at a time. So basically prepays for 25 cards.
And that's just instant card?
Yeah,
I thought I saw two vendors in here.
you did. The other one was the GSA,
Oh, okay.
and that's just something we can't feasibly really do. They just said our office isn't big enough and they can't really meet our needs.
What's the purpose of having these?
For field identification, for the employees that go in the fields and anybody who's checking into a hotel travel. It would be, something to, we're gonna have a vehicle that's going to be in the name of the board to actually have somebody be able to show that they actually work too. For purposes of identification.
Just curious, was there ever any research into, like a door sticker for the vehicle?
So there's hasn't been research for price, but it's definitely consensus that the staff does want a
Yeah.
sticker on the door.
Really?
Yeah,
I'm surprised.
I would think that they would want to stay planned.
Yeah.
Sticker on the door, what do you mean?
FRWMB
Yeah, with the logo.
Go on the door.
I guess
Oh, a placard of the vehicle.
Yes.
You're talking about?
It's like a actual sticker that gets placed on a vehicle door with a logo and a phone number usually.
Oh, magnetic, okay.
we could do,
Some of
magnetic, and if somebody wants to go on incognito, they pull the magnetic panel off and go, I think it'll, but I don't think that they have a reason for it. Yeah,
You know, I see marks all there. I mean, it's motor pool, so it's marked, all those are marked as public vehicles.
It's just out of curiosity, did you happen to check with the city of Ronan and what do they use?
City of Royan for what?
Like police?
They actually have a printer, they
Government
print their own internally for their employees, for the police and the city employees.
I wonder what
Their
they do for
employer,
us.
their printer, I've seen their ID, their printer is not of good quality.
So I was wondering if the tribal program, tribal offices would, but I don't know that. I hate to delay this any longer than necessary, but I could check with them. Cause I know they do tribal.
Most of the
Tribal
people.
employees.
Out of our office.
Yeah. Okay, well. What do you guys wanna do?
Business cards, maybe.
Also good, like if you guys go to trainings or conferences, just to have,
Mhm.
so that somebody comes up to you and, oh,
So that 195 is for a year or just?
No, that's, it's a account setup, $195, and it's basically a declining balance. So every time you order a card, they take that amount of that card. So
You can always
prepay-
add money to it.
you can always add money to it. It's prepaying for 25 cards, basically.
Pretty cheap. I
Yeah,
mean,
pretty cheap.
Super cheap.
pretty cheap, but and that's this USA,
No, that's,
oh,
yeah, it's the Instacart.
Instacart.
Yeah. The USA one is the one that we can't really
The GS
qualify for, it's the
okay,
GSA,
okay.
they're PIV cards.
All right, what do you guys want to do? ready for public comment? You guys
Yes.
want to take action?
Yes.
Public comment, public comment. No public out there to comment on the record,
comment
trying to
out there.
take public comment, there's no public to comment. So with that, if you're ready, I'll take a motion if the board is so inclined to approve the processing for ID cards.
Chairman, I move the board authorize the office of engineer to secure their ID card with the instant card company.
Motion by Ken,
Second.
second by Georgia, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, you're approved.
Thank you. Unless you guys have anything else for me, I can get out of your guys' way.
Oh, well, getting good. Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you. What that is, one of these you were wanting to hold off on, Roger.
Yes, 7.5.
7.5, everybody okay with that, to hold off on 7.5?
Yes.
Okay, consensus to hold off on 7.5, did I hear a comment?
I'm sorry to like be slow on the draw here. Did you approve the vehicle? Did you want to do the topper separately? Or could you like just make that a package arrangement so that, you know, we would assume
When
that,
you guys go talk to them, see if you can work a deal, see what they can get us.
okay,
It'll probably be extra above the cost of the vehicle, but we can always bring that back and we can improve that separately.
okay.
We'll just have to do that separate. See if you can get it for free. We want
We're not gonna,
copper.
we should get like a fiberglass topper, right? You
Yeah,
know, like, okay.
yeah, makes sense to me, yeah,
Yeah, lockable fiberglass
yeah,
topper,
yeah,
you know, possibly with the headliner in it.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, we just wanted to
Ken will figure it out, he'll get us.
Yeah.
Go, Ken.
So we're gonna consensus to drop 7.5, but we're on to, okay, 7.3,
7.2.
7. Travel approvals, okay, 7.2.
Mr. Chairman, board members, there was an option for compliance tech training, that is here for you to consider. It sounds to me like you're going a different direction, so maybe that doesn't work. This would be for Ronald.
Oh, so we can hold off on that then, for now. Yes,
Yeah. I think Rhonda is focusing on the budget and payroll and financials. And probably gonna be moving out of being a compliance tech.
we'll have to fill it, so, consensus to, postpone discussion on 7.2,
Yes.
all right. 7.3.
Mr. Chairman, board members, the board bylaw amendment that you had proposed went through a 15-day public comment period. There were no public comments submitted. As a reminder, this is the compensation amendment that changed the dollar amount for board members' compensation, along with a few other details on how submissions would be handled.
Yeah, it specs out regular meetings and then other special meetings that might happen with committee members.
And is it this document in here that we would take action on?
I know Sydney put together.
It should be, yeah.
All it is just, we're looking just for board approval of the bylaw? Yep. Yeah, this is one that's in, yeah. Yep, that's it.
Okay, so in your packet, you have this 3 pages. That's what we're looking to approve. So it already went out for public comment unless there are any other. More discussion? Any more discussion on that? Are you ready for final public comment?
Yes.
Okay, for the record, final public comment.
There's no public to comment.
No public comment, so we have, what are we calling this, this part of the bylaws dealing with board compensation?
Bylaw amendment to, I think it was Article 5.
Okay, so we'll take a motion to approve bylaw amendment to Article 5. If you're ready.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve Article 5 of the bylaws.
Motion by George,
Second.
second by Ken, all in favor, say aye.
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 Right. Any opposed? Hearing none, approved, all right. Moving right along, 7.4. Work compensation, July and August, you always had a chance to take a look, it looks like I saw everybody's pretty much chimed in on your part there, so. Noting that there is no public to comment. We have no public comment on this. Any further discussion, questions, changes to this at this point before we take action? Everybody get a chance to look at yours?
Chairman, I just want you to note that does not cover special committees yet. So that policy just got approved just a second ago, and so this is just straight up board meetings for July and August.
This is just board meetings for July and there's no other special compensation yet at this point. So Roger,
I thought the August 29th meeting was a Zoom meeting.
What?
So then we wouldn't have any travel or mileage or per diem on that.
good catch. Thank you. I didn't catch that.
I didn't hear, and
Oh,
So come on up, that's okay. So let's just, make sure everybody's clear. Roger caught this. That's a good point. August 29 was a Zoom meeting, so there's no travel.
correct, yeah, that's a good catch. My oversight.
So I guess,
Either we need to reprint this or we just take action minus the travel. So we can just take action minus the travel cost for the August 29 meeting. So any other questions or comments? Catches, thank you. Good catch. I did not catch that. I forgot that, yeah.
I'll make a motion that we approve the August travel as revised.
And the July.
Are we doing separate?
You want to just do August?
I'm good with July too, if you want to lump them both together.
It's your motion.
Sure, lump them both together.
State your motion.
I make a motion, we approve board reimbursement for July and August 2024.
I think it's actually compensation. Motion by Roger. Second by George. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Can you pick that?
Yep, changes have been made.
All right. And 7.5, we're postponing. Final comments. I know there's no public, Shane, anything? Nope. No. Ken, George? Roger? Georgia?
Nope.
Haley?
No.
I just want to get out of here. Motion to adjourn.
Before we do that, can we just go back and check double check these meeting dates. I
Okay.
I just wanted to, had it written down, I've lost it that fast.
And so no motion to adjourn. We're gonna double check meeting dates and also I thought we were gonna do an executive session.
Yeah.
So before we adjourn, we'll have to go into executive session. So anyway, meeting dates.
So I have a budget. Well, I guess the first one is coming up as a budget meeting on 9/16. Is that just the budget? That's the budget committee, I guess. Is that
Yeah.
budget committee? Okay. And then, yeah, then we have the same thing on the 17th at Shallot and Davis. And then we have on the September 23rd, we will have a special budget meeting from 2 to 5. Then I don't know, did we decide on the 9th or 16th, or I don't remember.
What was the day that you said 2 to 5?
2 to 5 is
23rd.
September 23rd.
October 9th, what's the date?
October 9 is a regular meeting.
Okay,
Thank you, Roger. Anything else? Okay, we will adjourn to an executive session.
We don't have to come back on. You can make a motion to adjourn the public and open an executive. That way Zoom doesn't have to come back.
Okay. So motion to adjourn our regular meeting and enter into an executive session.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to adjourn our regular meeting and Zoom executive session.
Motion by George,
second.
second by Roger. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thanks, Haley.
Yeah.